kind of like it.
You're good.
Yeah, I do a podcast every week. I wanted to like chronicle just all the BS stuff that's like kind of funny, but not really noteworthy. To almost like, you'd never write about it. But
what's the name of your podcast?
It's called the Shlomo Franklin Show. Very, very good.
Just the Shlomo Franklin Show.
That's it.
And it's just about like your life experiences on the road.
It's just about like every week, just like in the studio, this happened, this gig, and get up to this, went on a hike. It's fun.
Nice. How long you been doing that?
Like 4 years now.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I think so.
How many episodes?
I'm almost at 200.
Nice.
Yeah, where are we at?
This will probably be 90.
That's incredible, man.
6.
Congrats.
97. I did a podcast called Friends with Music with my cousin Matt. We did that forever, about 7 years, 400 and something episodes.
Wow.
We would do a session like this, and then afterwards talk to the band or the artist, the musician, for maybe like, they varied. They used to be a lot longer than it was just too much, like 30 minutes. And then we'd play the songs that they did on it, and then any songs they mentioned that inspired them on it. It was mostly learning about people's like earliest music memories, how they got into music, what inspired them, things like that.
A lot of editing.
Yeah, a lot of editing. We got tired. My cousin got older, had a kid.
Yeah.
Life happens, and we're like, okay, no more of that. And then I did another podcast over the pandemic called Mandate Movies, where it was a movie podcast.
Great.
And it was a pun because it was another guy and me, almost like a date.
Great name.
But it's like a mandate. Like we're mandating you watch these.
Great
It's
name.
corny, but it was fun.
It's beautiful.
I forgot how many episodes. We did a good amount of those. And then in the middle of the pandemic in 2020, I decided to do this one. And yeah, my goal was to do an episode every week, but life happens. So it's like 4 years, about 100, so about 25. So about one every other week.
Keep it.
Give or take, like every 2 weeks.
Yeah, just keep it fun. I love that you're doing it. And,
thank you. And they're longer. Some of these I've done 4 hours. I've done 1 hour. They're between 1 and 4 hours.
Nice.
Just depending on a lot of stuff. 4 hours is usually like a friend, someone I haven't seen in a while.
Yeah.
Catching up, And then like important people usually are like 1 hour. Like
I got somewhere to be.
really important people. The
On the
most important people I've
campaign
had
trail.
on have been like 1 hour ones, like a doctor, Steve Albini, the famous
Oh, that's
producer,
great. That's wow.
Yeah,
Great.
he's like 1 hour. I was like, okay,
Cheers.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so some people 1 hour, but 1 hour is hard. I like 2 hours a lot. You get into a lot after the first one. 3 can be, depending on the conversation, can be fun or draining, depending on where it's leaning. Yeah. But anyway, enough about me.
No.
Tell everyone who you are, what you do, where you're from. Let them get to know you.
Yeah, I'm from upstate New York.
What city?
I had a weird childhood. A little town called Bethel. It's in the Catskill Mountains in upstate New York.
It's a beautiful area.
It is beautiful. Our claim to fame is that's where Woodstock happened. Woodstock did not happen in Woodstock. But yeah, I grew up in like a weird farm religious cult that was like a nice cult, but a weird bad, like a bad good cult,
The best kind are the nice ones.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on this cult?
Sure, yeah, I guess I have
What
to.
was it called?
Well, it was like a Hasidic, ultra-Orthodox Jewish religious cult.
Okay.
I mean, all that like, yeah. And so like I just bounced around between a couple of different worlds as a kid, and it was like pretty confusing, and freaking music is like the only thing that's made me able to like, I don't know, feel like I'm part of something, like give me a place. I don't know. It's been a lifesaver. Like it made me contextualize and make sense of my childhood, and yeah, I'm so grateful for. I've just been like on the road and for a long, like 10-hour drives, just driving through the snow in Indiana and Illinois and all that, and just thinking about how grateful I am. But yeah, I know that's not a concise answer, but yeah, no, I play.
I mean, I'm
I
sure
play
it's a
music. I write
complicated
songs, and I love doing it. I live in Nashville now. It's become my new home. I miss where I'm from. I miss the Catskills. I miss the mountains. I miss the creeks, and
There's a lot of mountains and creeks in Nashville.
they're
They're not too far away.
yeah.
if you want to get to the bigger ones.
They're not too far away. They're just
It's the same mountain range.
It is the same mountain range. Appalachian
just in a
mountain
different
range.
location.
That's true. That's very true. Yeah.
Yeah, I love Tennessee, and I've been in both places, New York and Tennessee. I think I've been in every state that has Appalachian Mountains. I think I've seen every version of it. It's beautiful, and they're old. They're, I think, some of the oldest mountain ranges in the world.
True.
Which people crap on them because they're like the smallest ones in America.
Yeah.
but they're the oldest ones.
Yeah.
And that's why they are the way they are.
Yeah.
And there's something mystical about them.
There is something mystical about them.
Yeah.
And there's a real intimacy. Like whenever I'm out west and I look at the Rockies, I'm in awe and I'm humbled by them. But they also, there's like they command you in a way that's almost like I can't go in there.
Yeah.
I can't climb that. But if you see a mountain in the Appalachian Mountains and the Catskill Mountains, which are the Appalachian Mountains, like you could just climb up that mountain. There's a real intimacy. You could get to know that mountain really well.
Yes.
And kind of see it from all over the place. And, you know, it's a little bit more inviting, a little bit more hospitable. And but
less intense animals, and you know,
Exactly.
I mean, still some dangerous animals and bugs and insects and snakes, but
Yeah, there's some
nothing compared to
rattlesnakes,
the
but-
desert and the mountains out there west. The stuff out there is sketchy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's so vast.
It's vast.
You really are lost out there.
It's big, man. And some people have that. They connect with it and they, you know, they feel really at home out west. I don't feel at home out west. I love going out west. And
Same.
I you know, and I look forward to every chance I get, whether I'm going out there to play or do some backpacking and hiking and stuff. But either way, there is this like, it commands you and you're just, it's humbling, you know. But,
When was the first time you started venturing out of home?
well, I was like, I don't know. As a kid, I'd run all over the place and, you know, try to like, get away as much as I could. But when I started playing music, I suppose, like I just started bouncing all around the United States. Yeah,
How old did you, like when you first started touring or playing shows?
17, 18.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like 10, 11
18,
years or so?
19. Yeah, I'm at 10 years, I'd say.
10 years?
Yeah,
Right
10
after high school?
10 years
would you
in,
say?
pretty much.
Cool.
Yeah, I did a year in Israel, and that was really cool.
What year were you in Israel?
Man, it would have been like 2012 or something, or
Okay.
2013 maybe.
Was
2015.
this like a
like
church?
a gap
or-
year? So yeah, religious Jewish kids, like they're almost like it's part of the thing of like go take a year off, a gap year in Israel. It's part of the like
How was that?
ritual. It was incredible. It was majestic. I mean, it was the first time like, you know, being out in the desert, and I had a lot of freedom. I went to this like I was in this kind of seminary for teens at risk, so to speak, and just
Were you a teen at risk?
I was rebellious, and I was pushing back against the religion, but everyone else there was like on a lot of drugs. I wasn't on a lot of drugs, but I ended up in the same category as them.
So to clarify, so you went to Jerusalem,
Yeah.
but through being Jewish,
Yeah.
but you said it was like more of a cult. What separates it from just being a strict sector or a strict sect of religion versus being a cult?
Yeah, well, those are the same thing, you know, to me at least. Like, I grew up like under a rock, like no television,
Okay.
no music, all boys schools. You can't shake a woman's hand. Yeah, I mean, the rules are like endless.
Yeah.
Like, on Shabbos, on the Sabbath, on Friday night to Saturday sundown, you're not allowed to touch a light switch. You can't drive. You can't be on a phone. You're not allowed to carry things outside. There's like an endless amount of rules.
So was it just more strict than strict Judaism?
Yeah. So it's ultra Orthodox Judaism. Yeah, super strict.
So when does it fall off the cliff to like now it's a cult and it's no longer like Judaism?
I refer to it as a cult because like you're raised completely cut off from the world.
Oh, okay.
You know, and and isn't necessarily a bad thing. You know, like I mean, I didn't like it, and I very deliberately left and walked away from it, and it wasn't easy, and it took years.
Of
And it
course.
was like strange and heartbreaking, and like it wasn't easy. And I try to remind myself that because now it feels easy. It's like once you escape afterwards, it'll feel easy. But yeah,
All your family and friends were involved?
I mean, they're all pretty much most of them are super religious. But I'm very lucky. Like we're still great friends, and everybody
Okay.
talks to me. And
I was going to say sometimes you can't
Yeah.
maintain contact.
Yeah, I
Sometimes
have
you
friends that like their families won't talk to them, so, you know, because they left. Or
But your family will.
yeah, I'm very lucky.
That's
and my family's cool. My family's weird. They don't quite. My old man is like he's a farmer, and there's no Orthodox Jewish farmers. There's one in the United States. It's my dad, and he's a strange guy. He's a wildlife biologist, and he was kind of like a mountain man out west, and he lived in Montana for many years. Lived off the land in a cabin that he built, and lived with Native Americans. And like lived this crazy life, then left all that behind, became a religious Jew, but like still loves wildlife. So it's like, I'll have a farm, and tried to balance these two kind of opposing lifestyles. To him, they're very, they are one and the same thing, but they don't, and in at least today's reality, they don't really work. So wherever I was the outsider. Like if I was like upstate New York, in farmland, I was this weird Hasidic kid, but then around like in the Hasidic community, I was this weird kid who showed up to school smelling like cow crap, and had cows and sheep and stuff. So, it was this weird lifestyle that looking back, I'm very grateful for, because it was the only thing that gave me contact with the outside world. It's also like we spoke English at home. Most of like the kids in my school spoke Yiddish at home. That's why I don't have an accent. But like a lot of kids I grew up with, you'd be like, "What country are you from?" And they'd be like, "New York." They just talk different. Like say they're raised Yiddish.
That's all they were exposed to.
Yeah, they speak Yiddish and then they'll talk English, but it's a broken English, and it literally sounds like they're from like somewhere in Russia or Poland or something. But
is Yiddish? I don't know. Is it like a different form of Hebrew? Like,
yeah,
what
Yiddish
is
like
exactly?
it's most closely related to German.
Oh, okay.
But it's basically it's like a diaspora language. So wherever they're exiled, they would like over the years. So like there's bits and pieces of Spanish and Polish and Russian and lots of Hebrew, of course, and and then a bunch of German. But yeah, it's a most closely related to German. Like I can understand German vaguely.
Oh, wow.
Because of that. There's a lot of commonality.
And so you could speak Yiddish pretty well, or your version of it.
Not anymore, dude. I could speak it decently, but I understand it very well. But I understand it better than I could speak it, because I just don't speak it a lot anymore.
Is it something to you like you just don't want to speak because of...
Probably when I left, I was like, I kind of almost like, for my own mental sanity, like tried to like almost hide where I was from.
Yeah.
And now I don't, obviously. Like I've become just like grateful for my story. I also felt that no one would be able to relate to it. I thought it was so unique. And then you realize, oh no, this is this is Bruce Springsteen Born to Run. It's a town that's too small and you got to get out. That's all it is. The details are a little bit different. The theme is the same. And
I can relate a little bit. I grew up quite strict religious background.
Yeah.
Not as like enclosed and have to be like a cult, but a lot of attempts to keep things monitored and muted. I didn't grow up with cable, didn't have the internet, didn't get those things till I was teenage years, couldn't watch PG-13 or radar movies, couldn't listen to B96, like radio stations that had secular music, had to listen to everything, had to be Christian.
Yeah.
I could watch stuff, it just had to be more Christian or like kind of neutral. Nothing sexual, nothing swearing, nothing violent.
Yeah.
Certain video games. I mean, a lot of that, and I had people around me that had it more strict, just like you did, who had it worse and worse, and then they were homeschooled, and then they couldn't do anything, and they only can go to this church, and it got like stricter. I was kind of like in the middle, and then I had friends who were really relaxed. Parents let them do all that stuff. Those are the friends that go stay the night.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
Finally get to watch
go
South Park or something that I never got to see before. I'm like, whoa, this is great. I can't believe people just have this on their TV.
That's one of the beauties, is it makes you appreciate like music and movies, and you kind of take it seriously, and you don't take it for granted as much.
I used to love seeing kind of the movies you're not supposed to watch when I was young, because I would skip it. I would watch like G movies and PG movies, and then all of a sudden I'd stay at a cousin's house and get to watch a radar movie like that's
So
super
cool.
cerebral and intense, like American Beauty or Memento, and I'm like 10 years old, and it would skip the line of all the normal stuff people my age were watching. And it got me intrigued by it, because I got to skip like the membrane of like a buffer, and I went straight to like really heady, cerebral, intense thinking movies at a young age. And it was a big influence.
Yeah, and then
I'm sure you had some of those experiences where you like gotta peep into like what is really going on.
Oh, it's so cool. Yeah, and I wanted it so bad. Like, you'd buy a radio and like try to find a radio station and like listen to some stuff. And what's funny is like the thing that finally put me over the edge when I was like 12 and 13 years old is like we got a bigger tractor that had like an enclosed cab, and they came with radios and CD players. So then I got to like check out music, and back to my old man, like no outside music, no secular music, never heard of the Beatles, didn't know who anybody was, like completely cut off. Yeah, they wouldn't know Hendrix. Like if Neil Young
When
came
did you
and shook
first
my
hear
hand.
that stuff?
Well, I was the one thing I heard of so I was like 9 or 10 years old, and I was driving to the sawmill. I was driving to Matt Hofer sawmill to pick up some lumber with my dad, and we're in he had a Chevy Silverado, and I was 9 years old, and he goes, "Hey, open the glove compartment." So I open it, and he's like, "Move those envelopes." I move the envelopes, and there's a bunch of CDs, and there's this like weird guy on it. It was like, no, because I had CDs from Jewish pop singers, and I loved music. Like I would take it all in, but this was, I'm like, he doesn't look like one of them, and he's like, put it in the CD player. And I was like, what is this? And I could tell this is like he's like, don't tell your mother. And it was...
Who was it?
It's Bob Dylan.
Oh.
And I didn't know who Bob Dylan was. He wasn't like, hey, here's a legend. I wouldn't even know what that meant. There was no cultural context for this.
Oh my goodness.
In my mind, it was just like, here's a guy that my dad secretly loves and listens to that my mom can't know about, and I'm not allowed to tell anybody.
What album was it?
It was Times They Are Changing. And the first song I heard, because I think, it must have been Freewheelin'. It was Ballad of Hollis Brown. It's like the song it's this, I don't know if you know that song. It's like a old folky blues song, and it's about this Dust Bowl farmer who loses everything, and his family's just starving, and he spends his last dollar on 7 shotgun shells and puts them all out of their misery and then himself. It's this like dark circle of life song. And the last verse is like, somewhere in the distance there's 7 new people born, and it's this like really
dark.
Yeah, very beautiful, cerebral. And I loved it so much. I was like, yeah, life is this sad. And I'd never heard anybody articulate the great like sadness or heaviness of life. And this weird voice is coming through and like just kind of saying it all. Mm-hmm. And it was so... It like shook me to the core. It blew my mind, and then that became like a little bit of a ritual. We'd go, we took.
I was gonna ask, like, what happened next?
Yeah, it was still like very under wraps, but like every few months, we'd be taking a drive, and we'd go to like pick up a calf or something at another farm, and driving through like the backcountry roads and these beautiful little hills past old farms, and
that's so
you'd
funny.
show me like, yeah,
that's so great.
Blood on the Tracks. It was all the first. It was Freewheelin', Times Are Changing, Blood on the Tracks. Later, a couple years later, I found Desire in my brother's drawer that he must have, it was like
so you had an older sibling?
Yeah, I had older siblings, and
they're always the ones getting into stuff to show
cool
you
stuff. But they wouldn't show me because it was like a secret. But I had to I'd sneak through their stuff, and I found Desire, and that record blew my mind. But it was all Dylan, and I had no cultural context. It took years to be like, oh, this is, everybody knows of this guy.
Yeah.
Cool.
When did you first hear something like heavier?
Dude, oh my God, I got so. Slowly, like I was pushing back on the religion, and it was very like, it's all very visual. So when you're a kid, or like when I was a kid, when you're a Hasidic Jew, you have the long payas, they're called, the curls, the side curls, and they shave the top of your head. Mm-hmm. They do that when you're 3 years old, and you have the big yarmulke, skull cap, and every year I would like cut my payas just a little bit shorter, and my yarmulke would get a little bit smaller, and they would say stuff like this. In school, the rabbi would come in. He would like feel everybody's heads to see how big if your yarmulke was big enough. It didn't reach like the corners of your skull, and I would get sent home all the time.
Is this school part of your strict?
Oh yeah.
So it's part of the air quotes cult.
Yeah, like full on.
How many students there?
Like hundreds.
Yeah, hundreds of boys, and then was there a school for girls too?
Yeah, far away.
How far away?
Look, yeah, and it might as well have been in another town. Like we were not allowed to talk to them. Wow. There's no.
So there was no girls around you?
None.
No. When was the first
my sisters and my sister's friends, and I love them as a kid. I'm like, dude, you guys roll.
It's of course you did. You probably were in love with all of them.
All of them. I was like 7, and I'm like, I'm in love with you. I don't know what these feelings are. That's the problem with
doing it.
Exactly.
I didn't have it quite as extreme, but like in this
still,
middle ground,
it's the same thing.
Kind of like the forbidden fruit.
Yeah.
And guess what? I used to love it when my sister had her sleepovers, and her friends used to, and they were 5 years older, so they were like women to me.
They were women.
I'm 9, they're 14, they went through puberty, so I'm like talking to adult women, even though they're not,
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was like amazing because again, I wasn't allowed to do those things, and not as strict. I obviously saw girls all the time, but it just wasn't. I couldn't go the extra step. I had friends who could go hang out with girls alone, or with other friends, but at least they were allowed to do it.
Yeah,
I was kind of like I knew about it, I couldn't do it.
Yeah,
and that forbidden fruit made me a really good liar.
Yeah.
And really good. And I didn't do bad stuff, but I got good at doing these white lies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm riding my bike over to so-and-so's house, but really, no, I'm going to this girl's house. Not to do anything bad,
That
but to
rules.
just talk to a girl.
Dude,
Just talk.
my whole childhood, I just wanted like a gal pal. Like
Yeah.
I didn't even, I was like, I just want a girlfriend that I could be, like a girl to be nice, wholesome
Someone to
friends
talk
with.
to.
Yeah.
So no women around.
I still,
no
and like
girls.
today, like most of my friends are
That
girls.
must have blew your mind.
Dude, it was nuts, man. Like, and it's not healthy.
No.
Luckily, like I came out, like, thank God, like respecting women and not, and like, you know, and like, yeah, like so many of my friends are girls, and I'm very grateful. But like, it could easily go to like a pretty unhealthy place.
It can get bad.
It like objectifies women, and it's just not.
Well, if you don't get
great.
to know them, you don't know them as people
Exactly.
or humans, and there might be this weird
Yeah, it's
entity that you can't relate
objectification,
to.
and yeah, that stinks.
So who were the first girls you saw that weren't your sister or their friends?
So I had neighbors, and like we would like secretly, you know, like we weren't allowed to. There was super religious block. There was like it was all ultra Orthodox Jews on the whole block, but yeah, we would talk sometimes. That was cool, and like we'd ride our bike. That was like also like a little bit of like a glimpse of what a normal American life might be like, even though it wasn't. But
So what is your sense of normalcy at 10 years old? Like, what do you think what do you think's going on in the outside world? Do you know how big it is? Do you learn about history and geography?
yeah, it's
Like,
a decent question.
Do you understand what other humans are doing? Just like how there's uncontacted tribes right now
Yeah.
that have no idea that we have a microphone
This thing is-
technology and the internet, and this is
Yeah.
going to be on the internet
Yeah,
that anyone could see
But,
with
yeah.
invisible data going through the air. Like, they don't know about that.
nothing.
So what did you know about the world?
Yeah, it's funny, like, but they do know how to like go to a tree and find like
Yeah.
a sap that'll heal all
Well,
of
just
your
like
wounds.
you probably knew
or
some
like,
cool stuff because you grew up
Yeah.
doing what you did at farming, logging. You probably have skills that a lot of people in the city don't have.
Yeah,
You know.
and I know like 3 dead languages, like
Yeah.
Yiddish and just useless languages. Man, I wish we learned Spanish or something. That'd be cool. Would have been useful. Yeah, but I was raised to be very afraid and suspicious of the outside world. So like modern American jewelry is mostly built on the backs of Holocaust survivors. So naturally, they are very protective people. You know, their entire worlds, their whole villages, their towns, their businesses, their families was taken. And so the survivors who ended up in America, mostly, like certainly within the community, became a little bit more fundamentalist, a little bit more insulated.
I could see
and-
that.
and very protective. You know, and I tell my friends, like, if you ever like meet a Hasidic Jew and they like won't look you in the eye or they're a little bit rude, here's why. You know, it doesn't excuse it, but like here's why. And it's not personal, and they're just raised to be very paranoid of the outside world. So yeah, I mean, I think, and then religion in general, or any cult, any sort of dogma, and I see it in politics all the time. There's this idea of like, we're like somehow we, whatever that we is, like we become the arbiters of truth and compassion. We do compassion the best. We do all the goodness of all human beings is sort of like, it's branded as only we do it. And everyone else either is like cruel and immoral and not doing it well, or they're faking it, or they're not doing it sincerely. There's very much, and that just comes from like not trusting the other tribe. And it also comes from like, if you want to preserve a cult or a religion or politics or whatever, you kind of have to just talk crap and kind of misrepresent the opposite perspective or an opposing perspective. It's just natural. It's human nature, and that exists in all religions, everything. So yeah, I was pretty suspicious of the outside world, certainly intimidated and afraid of it. At the same time, I was also so intrigued. You know, hearing Bob Dylan, you're like, what else is out there? And eventually, like when I was 12 and 13, and already like I'd cut my payas off and the yarmulke was small, and I was like clearly visually like pushing back, and my folks were aware of that. Like then I was like, my dad took me to Walmart and got me some Beatles records, and you know, so then then the floodgates open up, and you're like, I want everything. And
Just when you first kind of heard like rock and roll,
Oh,
like
yeah.
full band.
yeah.
Because before that, it was more like folky.
Yeah, I just heard folky, and then I heard like, full band Bob Dylan. It was literally just Bob Dylan for years.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, I think then it was like the Beatles' White Album and then Eagles' Greatest Hits Volume 2. And that like blew my mind. And then I went to a religious like high school where I dormed in Queens.
Oh, you went in to Queens.
Yeah. Like
So now you're in the
left
city.
home, go to New York City, staying in Queens at a slightly less intense ultra Orthodox community that like there like the rabbis knew about sports. And like, they were like Yankee and Met fans. I was like, this is crazy.
But you're also in New York City.
You're
so
also
like,
New York.
You
Yeah.
can't escape the culture
Yes.
when you're there.
Yeah, but like the most ultra Orthodox communities in America are in like
Brooklyn.
Brooklyn. Yeah.
I've seen it when I've been
You
in
have?
Brooklyn, around East Williamsburg.
Yeah. You're in
Bushwick.
Williamsburg and there's like cocktail bars and thrift stores.
It was
And then
crazy.
a block away, you're just in, it's
I
another
drove
era.
down a block where I only saw Hasidic Jews.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
everywhere. I was
Yeah.
like, where? It's by a Home Depot. And I'm just driving, like
Yeah.
going to Whole Foods. I don't know. I remember it like it was yesterday. I was like, I don't know what's going on. I don't have a problem with it. I'm just like curious.
Where
It's
am
like,
I?
what just happened?
It's another era.
Everywhere.
Yeah, people are dressed differently. Like all the women, they can't even show their elbows or neck bones or anything. They're fully, covered up and they're living in another era. They really are, and they're extremely insulated. They're sweet people. Like I think that's Hasidic Jews are very like misunderstood. They're painted often as like very cold, and they're actually some of the warmest, most loving people. But they're also, they are suspicious of the outside world. They're afraid of the outside world, and they're insulated and they're protective. And
you said that a lot of this stems from the Holocaust? Like their
I think so. I mean,
parents
just
surviving?
in general, yeah, it's probably baked in just from all, Jews getting kicked out of every freaking country they're at. And it's either you assimilate or you double down. And that's what they've done, and that's any other culture that's had to like put up with, which every culture has, you either assimilate or you really double down and become slowly a little bit more insulated. Yeah, and it's that's how culture survives. In Brooklyn in the 20s, if like an Italian was dating an Irish,
Not happening.
It's like no,
Not good.
and like I disagree with that philosophically, but I also understand it. You're trying to preserve this culture.
And they were just new.
Yeah.
They just got here. They didn't have the internet or books to like help them translate, or they couldn't ask ChatGPT something. And they knew what they knew, and you stay with your tribe for safety. It's just survival, safety,
It's
familiar.
just safety and survival. Yeah, exactly. That's true.
So you're in high school in Queens, and you're starting to get exposed to more like rock.
I
and
got
stuff.
a sound machine that had a radio. And that combined with like, that was like probably the summer before I was in the tractor with the radio, and there I was listening to like the Beatles, the Eagles, and then I would check out like, the only radio I was playing was like country radio. And also that was the first time I heard a woman sing. You're not allowed to listen to a woman sing.
Wow.
Because obviously it makes sense. It's very sexual, and if you hear a woman sing, you'll instantly want it. Dude, it's horrific. It's called Kol Isha, the voice of a woman, and only women are allowed to listen to women sing
Really?
in Orthodox Judaism. Yeah.
Are they allowed to listen to men sing?
They're like, the women could hear the men and the
Why
women.
is that?
I don't know. I guess we're not
a double standard.
We're not very sexy when we sing, which I
mean,
if you watch my
ask
performance,
Frank
you'll-
Sinatra or Dean Martin, he got a lot of Elvis Presley, Justin Bieber, Justin Timberlake. I mean, come on,
that's
a lot of women
every
for
one of
themselves
those.
at these guys.
Yeah.
Every rock star ever. That's
Yeah.
goofy. There's a lot of weird sexist double standards in pretty much most religions.
Yeah,
not
at least
all
that
of them.
one's in favor of ladies, I guess.
Yeah,
Kinda.
but it
At
stunts
least
their freedom that
that they
we
can't say.
can't let them grow in the fields
can't
of
express
art
themselves,
and
yep.
expression and even business. If you want to be a professional musician or singer,
Yeah.
you lose half your clients who can't buy your material, your patrons, because men can't listen to you.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of money for them to give to you.
Yeah.
It does. Yeah, you can't. Essentially,
That might
you're
get to them if you go be like, dude, there's a lot of money on the table. They'll be like, all right.
You said the Jewish joke.
They do love
not
money.
me.
All right. Stereotype. Stereotypes are funny.
Yeah, where does that stereotype come from?
Where does it come from? That's a good question. I think it comes from like when also, and I only have like a recent historical perspective, but like when Jews did come to New York, like New York and America, they couldn't work on Shabbos, on Saturday, and Friday night. And in general, like they wouldn't be hired. No one would hire them. And then they weren't allowed to use Christian banks. Like any of the banks wouldn't let them use it. Like get away, get out of here. So they're like, all right, we'll just do it ourselves. And so they started their own banks. And because everyone like wasn't messing with them, they'd get fired from their factory job and like all the factories and stuff in the Northeast in New York at the time, 1920s, 30s, 40s. So they're like, we'll just do it ourselves. And they all did business with each other because we're like, these guys they're all mean to us.
So you just kept it in house.
They kept it
over
in
and over
house
for generations.
and they had a fire lit under their butts and just like doubled down. Like, all right, you're not going to hire us. You won't let us use. We'll do it ourselves. We'll do it better, and we'll look out for each other. So whenever, like, imagine take any town that you and I have like driven through on tour or whatever. If you got rid of all the chains and everyone only did business in the town, there would be a thriving economy. But instead, everybody pays money to this corporation that gets sucked out of the town and barely any money stays in the local economy. But here, you have any insulated community that says we're going to do business only with ourselves. The money stays in the town and it grows a better economy. So I think, they like started like, all right, you're going to fire us from the factory. We'll start our own factory. And they were semi-successful and they got a reputation for like being successful businessmen because they had to be.
Yeah.
I guess.
It's kind of one of those things that gets
I'm bad at money. If that helps. Like,
it's one of those
wish
things
that
that
rubbed
gets
off on me.
glossed over a lot when it comes to people generalizing a group.
Yeah.
You know, you can say about people who are Hispanic or Black or Irish or Jewish or Italian, instead of like reverse engineering like what created them to do that or pushed them, motivated them to do it. And it's not something you don't have to like go on a 20-minute rant about explaining it. But one could explain it. No, like outside of this context.
I got you.
You could just explain it in like 1 minute. It's like, well, no one wanted to work with them.
Yeah.
They were put into corners, had the fire lit on them because it's like die or survive. There's no aid. There's no government aid in the 1920s for people who are poor. It's not like now. So it's like, well, we either have to, lack of better words, as my mom would say, shit or get off the pot.
Yeah.
Is shit Yiddish? It's got to be close.
It is close. It feels like it is.
Oh, it's shite. Shite. Yeah, and it happens a lot in different communities where it's like, well, no one's going to do it for us, so we have to do it ourselves. And a lot of communities create their own worlds because of it.
Yeah.
And white Caucasian Christians in America have done it too, but because there's so many of them, ours just looks bigger where it encompasses society so you don't see it.
Right.
Because it is just the norm, but it's its own version of that. We just did it with big corporations, like, oh, let's give our money to these big corporations. We didn't realize that if it doesn't stay in-house, you will eventually not grow your community.
Yeah.
And that's where brick and mortar stores, even when it's not about religions or cultures,
it's still...
they do way better, and local communities do better when you have a bunch of local places, regardless of religions or skin tone.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like Jewish people just historically have been dealing with that, so just kind of kept it in-house. If you go get your clothes done, you go to the Jewish dry cleaner. Go to the Jewish deli for your meat. You go to the Jewish butcher for your meat. You go to the bank, Jewish bank. You just keep it over and over again.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Then the joke would be something along the lines of like they couldn't fight, like the physicalness wasn't their best thing, so they're like, all right, guess we'll try to outsmart our way of survival.
Because some of the best comedy, best writers, shows, actors, so many.
You're welcome.
It's
funny, man. Obviously,
big community here too in Chicago on the north side.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Not whenever, but I've done a lot of Wikipedia researching whenever I'm watching like a movie or a TV show and someone is an actor, and I'll like look up where they're from. And if it says Chicago, it's usually the north side. Mm-hmm. And if they're Jewish, it's usually the north side Jewish neighborhoods. And it's just a big community of it. Yeah, there's not so much on the south side or west side. But yeah, it is interesting because where I grew up, there was like no Jewish temples. There was no one Jewish at all. Yeah. Nothing. Never met anybody who was until I was like in my 20s. Yeah. Until I went to the north side of Chicago and like got out of the south side.
Yeah, you're like, whoa.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, I've heard of this world. I just never got exposed to it, you know? Yeah. Not quite as drastic as your exposure. But yeah, I want to go back to Queens. You're in high school.
Oh, man.
You're getting exposed to things here and there. When did you first go to like a concert or a show?
Oh, dude. Queens was so fun because I discovered classic rock. There's Q104.3, which is like the most like classic rock radio station. They played Led Zeppelin every 3 seconds. But I didn't know any of this music. So I just like I would skip class and become glued to this sound. It was like a sound machine that also had a radio. And I would listen to all this music and like Elton John. Okay, is he like a young, like what? I didn't know any, Bowie and Supertramp and Zeppelin, Guns N' Roses. Like, then I started becoming exposed to music, and my grandmother, who's not religious, for my 16th birthday, she was like, "I'll send you to a concert." So I got
on your mom's side or dad's side?
Mom's side.
Okay.
So I got to see the Who.
Whoa.
At Barclays Center. It was like brand new then.
By yourself?
Arena. I went with my brother, my older brother. We both saw the Who, and that like blew my mind. And there's like they're old guys, but it was so fun. They were doing the Quadrophenia tour, so they did Quadrophenia in its entirety, and then like,
that's so
a couple
cool.
of hits at the end.
So you were like 16, 17?
Yeah, 16, and then I went to another dorming school, also for like teens at risk, and in Waterbury, Connecticut, which like Waterbury is an old brass. It's Brass City. It was Brass City, and then the brass moved to like China or wherever, and it's just like rows of factory houses that are just foreclosed and empty and just like abandoned.
When you mean Brass City, you mean manufactured
Yeah,
brass?
manufactured brass. Yeah,
Okay.
so it's this old big industrial city that it just left, and
Kind of like Detroit with cars.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And similar, like just row after row of houses that are just gone. And they started this like yeshiva, and a small Orthodox Jewish community started there. So like, we'll get cheap houses, and they're beautiful old like Victorian homes. Like we'll just fix them up. And and that was a really cool time in my life. There was like this rabbi who led it. That was like his passion was like taking kids like me who, pardon me, who grew up in Orthodox Judaism, but maybe had like a really bad taste in their mouth, and it didn't represent like love or goodness. It represented just like lots of rules and really strict and fear of God and like all these like negative human emotions and attributes. He was like a big believer in like, no, it should be fun, should be loving, and so he started this school. And he's a great guy and one of the kindest people I've ever met in my whole life, and just like a beautiful, beautiful human. And they're basically, there's no rules. You didn't have to show up to class. You didn't have to do anything. You didn't have to show up to prayers. It's like Jews pray 3 times a day. And it's like morning, middle, night, and like he's like, just do what you want, but it's got to be fun. And they would just like throw parties, and still all boys school, but it was super relaxed. And he used to like come into my dorm room, and he'd go around the dorms, and just like his kids wouldn't show up to school for weeks. And he was like, I'm not going to push them. All their life they've been like pushed with rules. It's like, do your thing, like smoke weed. I don't care. I want you to arrive at this in your own way. And he was in my dorm room, and I had at that time I was like obsessed with rock and roll, and like I had a big poster of Slash and like a gun, the Appetite for Destruction poster with the cross, and they didn't like that, but they tolerated it. And then a big thing of Slash with like a snake, and like it was like from Slash Snakepit era for those Slash nerds. It was like post Guns N' Roses, early 90s. Anyway, the top hat, no shirt, playing a guitar, and he was like, "Who is that?" And I was like, "Oh, it's Slash." And I told him all about Guns N' Roses, and he was totally interested. He was like, "That's awesome," and like, "What do you like about it?" And I was like, "Well, they're pissed off and they're angry, but they're honest, and they're not taking anybody's shit." And and he like just totally, he's like, "I love that." He's like, "That's so cool." And it was the first time like I ever was around an Orthodox Jew that didn't like judge me for it or say this is bad.
Wasn't preachy.
Exactly. Anyway, a few months later, and he would do the same with Bob Dylan. He would ask me to like print out Bob Dylan lyrics just so he could like look at them.
Are you like a senior at this time, junior?
I was junior.
Why did you switch schools?
The other one like became I just wasn't happy there, and I kept pushing back against the religion. Eventually, it was like too religious for me, too studious. Like the idea was like if you were there, you're gonna like eventually become a rabbi.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I was like,
they're trying to set you up for a rabbi.
Yeah.
And you said so it's boarding school, so it's like nice.
It's not nice.
Nice.
It's yeah, no.
So
it's like a
crappy boarding
nice
school.
It's like a crappy boarding
Affordable
school.
boarding school?
Exactly.
Not the one that celebrities send their kids to.
Exactly. So it was dormitories. It was so fun. Like I loved being in a dorm and having friends, and because there you'd be with other like crazy kids, and you'd all pass around music, and like like my buddy Dove, who I'm still friends with in 9th and 10th grade in Queens, he'd show me like this Guns N' Roses, like, hey, check out November Rain. There's like 3 guitar solos in it. Here's Dave Matthews Band. I'm like, oh, that sounds weird. I kind of like it now. Like, so yeah, it was this exciting feeling.
Did you have access to the internet?
No, no. It was all like hard drives.
But so the internet's rampant at this time because this is only 10 years or 11 years ago?
12
years ago?
13.
Right, so that's 2013.
Yeah.
Like the
internet's going,
but you just didn't have access to it.
No,
so you,
no
you haven't
access.
been on it yet.
I'd been on it maybe once or twice, mother supervision, you know.
So no social media, nothing like that.
No, I got a Facebook secretly.
Nice.
I would go, there was like a slaughterhouse down the road, and I would sneak into their offices. I knew one of the guys, and he gave me a passport to one of their computers.
Okay.
And I'd go on Facebook, just in this dark slaughterhouse at night.
Wow.
And I'm like,
wait, you go on Facebook in a slaughterhouse?
hell yeah. It was nuts.
Just
It was
to sneak
crazy.
it?
Just, yeah. It was
Were there
like,
dead animals just rotting around you?
no,
and
no,
stuff?
it was, I mean, it didn't smell great, but it didn't smell too bad, you know? It was like cold and dark.
In the dark, it's cold.
Yeah.
You hear blood dripping. You're just like trying to log in your Facebook. It's telling you your password's not working. You got to put in your alternate email to get a code sent. You're like, I don't even know.
I don't know
what
any
this
of this stuff.
means.
Yeah, no, I barely knew how to use the internet. It was so mysterious and strange to me.
man,
and like you
that's
could
so
just friend anyone. I'd find like my 3 friends who were on Facebook. Like, hey, what's up? You know? Yeah.
Oh,
it was a
man.
weird time.
So did you have it throughout high school, the Facebook account?
I think like probably halfway through high school I got
Okay.
it or something. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember I'd be like, I'd love to have a girlfriend on Facebook. And like, yeah.
Yeah, what is that like? What is even the concept of dating like in those circumstances?
Yeah, I wanted it so bad.
Well,
I was like, that's what it does to you.
About
It makes you.
99% of human beings, regardless of their
That's normal.
sexual proclivities, want
Yeah.
something to
Yeah.
happen in their high school, especially by like 16, 17, 18. It's one thing when you're like 11, 12, 13.
I was fired up. By
But
the
when
time
you're
I was
like
10,
17, it doesn't matter your sexual orientation. You're thinking stuff. You're thinking something.
stuff.
Something's happening.
Yeah.
You can't really put a finger on it, but you definitely want something.
Yeah.
You want love. You want to be appreciated. You want human touch.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. You want adventure and romance and yeah. I had no access. Yeah. When I was 16, I met a girl at a friend's house and then we like became kind of boyfriend and girlfriend over the phone and she lived in Canada.
Oh.
One time she came on like some like rabbinical seminary thing for girls and like I borrowed my brother's car and drove out to Connecticut to meet her and like we hung out in this like garden apartment thing and then a tow truck came and towed my car. And I was like
romantic.
it was dude
So
it
romantic.
and I was like I got on my knees. I was like begging the tow truck guy to like let my car. I was like I can't do it and I eventually had to like go back to where the hotel and the seminar thing that she was staying at and like ask this rabbi for money who's so pissed at me. He's like, you came and defiled one of my girls and, you know.
One of my girls.
Yeah.
It's like, they're not your girls.
Yeah. Yeah.
You old man.
Yeah, exactly. He
that
just
is
threw
so-
some cash at the problem.
Pretty
and
funny, though.
It was fun. Yeah. And
That's
then we stayed up all
hysterical.
night and made out. It was like, that was my first kiss. It was fun.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. She was sweet.
And you're just like, well, when that's over, you're probably distraught. You're like, how am I supposed to ever have that again?
Yeah.
It
No,
was
it
so
was
much
like,
work. She's from Canada. I got my car. Like, this took a lot of effort
Yeah.
and money. And now it's like, you can't do that every day.
you can't do that every day. No, yeah. Eventually, when I did go to Israel, then I was like, the borders came down a bit and like,
Okay. So you, right after high school?
yeah,
you
right
went?
after high school. And then I met this great girl in Israel and became like, loved her so much. We're still good friends. And yeah, then I started having like girlfriends.
In Israel?
Yeah.
Were they Israeli? Or-
They were mostly American Jews who were going sort of similar like gap year.
Okay.
And yeah, but like I met some like hippie girls and they took me into their little group and we went backpacking all over and through the desert and stuff. And that was like, then my world really opened up. You know, at that
Okay.
point there was like no borders. And I'd left the religion like pretty much. Like I was kind of
So you
pushing
left the
back.
religion, but you're in Israel.
Hell yeah.
The birthplace
Yeah.
of these religions, a lot
Yeah.
of them. It's kind of funny. Like the farther you got from it, the closer you got to it.
That's a good point.
Right?
That's how
like you're at the
life goes.
epicenter, yet you're like, I'm done.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
That's got to be bizarre. And you're meeting. I'm still trying to understand because most people, if you hear like, oh, I grew up Jewish, they don't went to boarding schools in New York, they don't went to Israel, they'd think you're like rich.
Right.
Right? Because
Yeah.
that sounds like it. I don't know anybody who could do that unless they have money.
No.
But it's there's different,
It's different levels. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And not every school is expensive just because it has boarding or private in front of it. Like
Yeah.
I went to a private school that was not nice or fancy or expensive when I was a kid. It was
did?
really small.
Yeah.
A Baptist one. It was really tiny.
Nice.
It was not like the kind that are $20,000 a year. It was the kind that was like a couple grand a year, and
Couple grand a
they had
year,
a small body of students. It wasn't the best education,
Yeah. My metric is like the food was always like horrific.
Okay.
Just unrecognizable. You'd always see like yesterday's food and the next day's meal just worse off.
That's a good sign that it's not a great spot. And the technology.
Yeah.
But were you not allowed to use a lot of
no
technology?
technology. I mean, as I got older, teenager, like there were computers. We'd do like, what was that program that taught you to type?
I don't know.
There's like a typing program.
I wish I knew.
There's like one game that everyone became obsessed with to take it off, but it was like a fun like build your little medieval village
Oh, cool.
game. That was really cool. I got a Game Boy. That was like, whoa.
Oh, yeah. So you didn't grow up playing video games?
No. No, nothing.
Nothing. So when people have pop culture references of like
Yeah,
the
still-
90s and 2000s, you don't know what anyone's
No, I mean,
talking
like I
about.
did my homework since then, and like I still have never seen like a Simpsons episode.
Holy
But
crap.
that's something that I'm like holding on because I know it's great.
Man, I wish I had a TV where we could watch an
Dude,
episode with you.
I love it. Yeah, like,
like-
I've seen clips. Family Guy went hard with like right away. That was like my first thing. I was like, somebody gave me a hard drive with like all Family Guy, and I was like watching it on like little iPod Touch or something. iPod
The
Nano.
Simpsons. It's been on for almost 40 years, and you're like, I've never seen it.
No, I've never
It's
seen
the
a
most
full
popular
episode.
cartoon of all time.
Yeah. No, a lot of like 90s, like what took the longest, because I got obsessed with classic rock. So then I was like able to relate to culture through classic rock and some movies. But what took the longest is like kind of like in 90s like pop music, like Madonna. Like I only like really listened to Madonna like a couple of years ago.
Oh, wow.
And there's great, Like a Prayer. I love that song. That's a great song. Heard it at my buddy's wedding. I'm like, what is this?
What about like movies like Star Wars and stuff?
Never seen Star Wars.
They still never seen it.
No, but I'm excited. Like that. Here's the thing: it becomes fun because you get to experience like so many people grew up around Hendrix. Everyone's like, he's the top. He's number one. You have such a like. There's so much pressure to love it that you actually sometimes I think impedes just your pure innocent enjoyment of the thing.
That's true.
So like I've tried it throughout the process to just like be super grateful. And at first it was easy. Now I have to like remember to be grateful, like that I get to listen to the radio. So I feel that way about food. Like I didn't try so kosher, you're not allowed to eat any restaurant in the world basically, unless it's like a kosher restaurant. So
And what makes it kosher?
it's a long process, but it's super strict. There's a ton of rules, but essentially a rabbi needs to cut the throat with a very, very specific knife. Supposedly it's a super sharp knife, and it makes it that it's less painful for the animal. That's the idea. And then they check the lungs to make sure it's a healthy animal. It has to be a healthy animal. It can't be like certain
Before it dies or
bumps on
after
the
it
lungs.
dies?
After. Yeah, good question.
Wait, you check the lungs after it dies?
Yeah, so if it's not kosher, they'll just sell it to some non-Jew, but they can't eat it.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what's the rules for how healthy it is? Like,
I don't know. It's got to be like, I forget, but it's some kind of holes in the lungs, or can't be holes or bumps in the lungs.
huh?
Yeah, and it's got to like look healthy, and then it needs to be a very pure and quick and quote unquote painless slaughter. It's not actually painless, but it's, if you cut yourself with one of those knives, it would take a minute for you to feel it because of how sharp it is. That's the idea. And they go over it with their fingernail. You'll see it's called the shochet, is the rabbinically ordained slaughterer. And it's this rectangular knife, and he goes over it with his fingernails back and forth to make sure there isn't a single bump, and they're constantly sharpening it.
Sounds obsessive.
It is, dude, it's the whole thing is so obsessive.
It sounds obsessive.
It's so obsessive, and it's so neurotic. Like
It sounds neurotic.
The
And I know the
neurotic, the
Jewish-
Woody Allen Jew, like that's the product of just hundreds and thousands of years of just neurotic rules. The rules keep getting more developed and more insane and more intense, and everyone's trying to one-up each other. And you're not allowed to mix meat and dairy, so I didn't have a cheeseburger until I was like
Why?
18. Because in the Bible it says you're not allowed to cook gedi, goat, in its mother's milk. So the rabbinical scholars kind of took that to the next level, and they're like, well, we're not going to have any meat or cheese or dairy near each other, so that no one like gets close to cooking a baby goat in its mother's milk.
I mean, a lot of this stuff was a little rational before we
Yeah.
had
Yeah,
microscopes
no
and understood
seafood.
bacteria.
Yeah, they're just like, stay away from seafood. You're
But-
gonna get it's a slippery slope. You're gonna die.
It does sound very like neurotic. Just like just don't bother.
Just don't
even do it.
Don't even
It's like,
touch
you know
it.
how much good seafood there is.
Yeah, now like I love seafood. Like
So you didn't have seafood till when?
like 20.
Oh my god!
Yeah, I remember like my first
Grew up
shrimp.
on seafood.
And then the beautiful thing,
so
like the thing that still like gets me emotional is just culturally. Like I couldn't go. Like we had the only cultural food, and I in quotes cultural, was like Italian. They have like a bastardized version of Italian food. We had sushi. They got sushi a couple of years ago. They go hard. Something, if you're ever like in an ultra orthodox community, there's going to be a pizza shop that serves sushi and like Italian food, and then falafel and like Middle Eastern food. It's all in under one roof.
Why?
And they just mix it.
And a pizza?
Yeah, there's no like cultural class. There's no integrity related to food. They're like, this is good. Let's just, and it's all non-meat products. And then you go to the meat, and it's all like deli products and that stuff.
So how come the lox bagel became a thing? That's fish.
Yeah. You could do fish with fins and scales. Yeah.
Not crab.
No crab.
Not anything in the shell. Like
No.
shellfish.
No, and a fish, like you can't do shark because they don't have scales. Same with like with mammals, you can only eat a hoofed animal that chooses cud. So you can eat
Cud.
Yeah. So they it's called maligera, but basically like cows. So some animals will chew their cud. Basically, they have a series of stomachs, and their digestive system is different. A pig does not chew its cud, but it does have split hooves. But a camel, I think, chews its cud, but doesn't have split hooves. Anyway, you can only eat cows and sheep and deer, basically.
Cows and sheep and deer.
Yeah, and like
Not
subsets
goat?
of those creatures. Goat, you could do goat.
Goat.
Yeah,
Ox.
goat's big. You do ox.
Horse?
No horse. Horse is bad.
Bear?
Horse, no bear.
All kinds
Bear
of
doesn't do anything. Horse, I think, chews cud, but doesn't have split hooves, I think.
What about like lions and tigers?
No, those are bad.
Those are bad.
Can't do those.
So they're coming to kill you.
Yeah.
Can you kill them?
You can kill it. It's all, yeah.
And waste the meat, just don't eat it?
Yeah, feed it to your
Man.
feed it
I
to
mean, this
your
is just
dogs.
before they had knew about like rickettsiosis and
Yeah.
bacteria and stuff.
Yeah.
Especially with like fish and pork.
Yeah, exactly.
Chicken, you know?
Yeah.
So you can do chicken.
You do chicken. But birds, you can only do birds that have what's called a macera, a tradition that you're allowed to eat them. So some ducks are kosher, some ducks aren't. Some chickens are kosher, some chickens aren't. Dude, they get crazy.
I've never understood it whenever the coach
It's so many rules. It's so neurotic. Yeah, and it's become like it's its own. Obviously, it's its own culture and kosher food. I still like appreciate and love kosher food. But like anything else, it becomes super insulated. It'll be really good for certain things, but it's super lacking in most things.
Okay.
So, like my siblings have never had like a Mexican taco.
Oh.
They've never had. They've like the experience of going to like a Thai restaurant or
just Chinese restaurant.
yeah, just going to a Chinese restaurant and having they'll do a terrible version of Chinese food, like the fried chicken and just pouring corn syrup all over it. But
But a cheeseburger.
no cheeseburgers. You could have fake cheese technically. That's like frowned upon. They're like, just don't.
A cheeseburger is amazing.
A cheeseburger.
I made one
and it's
last
two
night.
kosher things. Ari Shafir, comedian
that
who
is.
like he grew up Orthodox, and he's got a joke of like the closest thing I had to having a cheeseburger is like I'd eat a burger and then 6 hours later eat some cheese and like push it down.
He I know his story is similar to strict upbringing that went to Israel to
Yeah.
study. And it kind of, when you said that, I was like, oh, I've heard like this kind of trajectory
Yeah.
before,
Yeah,
But
yeah,
you didn't
it's
really
big.
go to study to become a...
No, I went like literally like
rabbi.
a rabbi salesman who's like notorious. Everybody knows him as like he would just show up and be like, "You got to come to our yeshiva in Israel. It's great. We'll take care of you. There's a swimming pool. There's this. There's that. You get there. There's no swimming pool. He's like, oh, there's pool. You play pool.
Just kind of lie to you.
Pretty much just like getting
Conned you.
Yeah, he would find kids to come and like and basically the idea was like you'd go there. Again, they would let you. They wouldn't encourage you, but they'd let you like smoke weed and kind of be a degenerate, but then slowly encourage you to come back to the religion. And they'd be welcoming, and they would basically give over the religion in a loving. They would sell it, in a way that's like, hey, this is actually great. This, you want meaning in life, you want stability, you want to be present, you want to have a sense of place in your world. Come here and study, and we'll take care of you. And ideally just get these kids to what's called, they call it stark out. Stark is Yiddish for strong, like become religious again, basically.
Okay. And your parents were really religious?
Super.
But your mom's mom wasn't?
Yeah. They weren't growing up, and they became it in their 20s.
Oh.
Yeah, so like extended family, not religious.
So what did both sides not
Yeah.
religious? So what did they think of it? Like the grandparents and aunts
It was
and
weird. It
uncles?
was very hard for them. I think like both my grandfathers were American soldiers, and they fought in World War II, and they were so cool. But there was always this boundary. Like they would show up and they'd throw on like a weird, they would try to like fit into the rules, but it was hard for them. They could only come to our restaurants. They couldn't share. I couldn't really go sleep by them. I couldn't stay by them overnight because I couldn't eat their food. Their kitchen wasn't kosher. It's pretty sad. Like it put up a lot of boundaries that I'm still like trying to heal with my aunts and uncles. And they're all lovely and they're so welcoming. And we both see it as like, hey, like we would take your cousins like backpacking or on road trips, but we couldn't take you guys because you couldn't eat our food. So like we're all making up for lost time.
What did your parents think of all that stuff?
Yeah, they were just full on. They were so extreme. They've calmed down in recent years. They're still ultra Orthodox, but they're a lot more like open and relaxed because they've had to be, and they're very accepting of my lifestyle, and they know how I live, and they're just very sweet. I'm very, very lucky. It's an exception. It took years. It took like literally bringing my mom to therapy and
So
like,
at first it was not easy.
yeah, it was super, super, super hard. A lot of pushback. My mom would cry. I'd like talk. I'd be like talking about rock and roll, and she would like weep.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So when did you first tell them like, this isn't for me anymore?
I was 16 or 7. No, I was in Israel already. I was 18. I called them.
So out of high school.
Out of high school.
In
They
Israel.
knew I was like not going
Into
with
it,
the
yeah.
extreme, but they're like, well, their whole thing's like, well, at least he'll do the basics. Like keep Shabbos, keep kosher. Those are like the basics. Don't drive and turn lights on Saturday and only eat kosher food. That's like ground level Orthodox. So like at least he does that. And I called them. It was like, it's the closest I could relate to like, coming out of the closet to like parents
Right,
who are
it's what it
super
kinda sounds
judgmental.
like.
Yeah, it's very much like I'm not who you want me to be and think I am. I hope you'll still accept me and love me. Please do that. But if you don't, like I'm willing to die to live an honest life. And the way I was raised doesn't feel honest with how I feel. It's not honest to me, and it's not what I want. And
What about your siblings?
my siblings, everybody's pushed back a little bit, and they're all a little bit less extreme. So they all listen to like some version of like outside music. They all will watch television. They're on the internet. I got a brother who left the religion as well. He like went super. He became like a rabbi and then like backed up. I was like,
Oh,
whoa.
wow.
And now he's not religious, so we're super close. And then like I have a sister out in Florida, and she's religious but super open and accepting, and just like and is part of culture and listens to country music. And
Okay.
she'll come stay by us in Nashville, and we'll go to see the Grand Ole Opry. And she's just such a loving, beautiful person. And it was very hard for her growing up too. And like my siblings struggled a lot, and they've all found their own places that they're
How many?
comfortable with. Four siblings.
All older?
Yeah.
Okay, so the oldest might have had it even harder
Yeah.
because even less access to technology and stuff.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. More extreme. My parents were probably even more strict with them.
Yeah, they usually get less strict as you get older.
Yeah.
All parents.
Yeah, exactly.
And if not less extreme or less harsh, easier to ignore
Yeah.
because they literally get older and the physicality starts to dwindle.
Yeah.
Of like they will physically restrain you or discipline you.
Exactly.
When that fades, when they're in their when you're like, you can't hurt me, so therefore like I'm so much less scared of you.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're 5 and your dad's 25 and he's like a
everything.
full youthful man, he might be scary.
Yeah.
But at like
Yeah, and he's got the
50,
fire. He's still like, we've all realized this to a different extent of our parents. They were just kids.
Yeah,
Raising kids.
yeah, they were just young and had a lot of energy, so like they put
And
a lot of
anxiety
thought
and
into
fear
it.
and tempers and whatever trauma they grew up with. And
Of
like,
course,
like,
it's not so cut and dry. It's not so
No.
simple.
No.
Usually, when you meet people in those situations, because something happened, something
Yeah.
provoked them to want to be that strict.
Yeah, whenever I'm trying to like be empathetic to my parents, I'll remember like my dad was raised by someone who fought in World War II. That my grandfather saw like hell.
Same with my parents.
Yeah.
My grandfather fought World War II.
Really?
On my
Yeah,
mom's
so then
side, yeah.
think of your parents. Like think of your mom being raised by someone who for sure the most PTSD. Like even if they didn't see action, it was still like hell.
Oh yeah.
And then they're just in like the modern world, and like it gives me a lot of like empathy and gives them a pass.
Yeah, things are not as simple as a lot of people want to make it seem.
Yeah, nobody's too
You can't judge a book by its cover. You got to at least talk, ask questions. That's why even like a podcast is helpful. I think that's why podcasting has become so popular.
Yeah.
It's because people can listen to 1, 2, 3, 4 people talk for hours and like really peel back the layers of what might be some reasoning behind something, maybe some insight, like what you were explaining about kosher and stuff like that. I don't know a lot about that. And even if you like look it up and read about it on the internet, it's not the same as someone like telling you in person to your face and articulating things. And you can ask for examples like, oh, what do you mean by this? That's much more helpful than maybe reading about it or getting it secondhand from someone like talking crap on TikTok about it. Like, I saw this video of it being explained.
Explain it in 20 seconds.
Yeah. Those videos are a little dangerous sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm grateful. I'm so grateful for podcasts, and that's why I'm thrilled to be here. Like it's getting someone's nuanced perspective, even people that I disagree with. Like that's another thing the gift that growing up religious has given me is like on my way out, I met so many ultra-Orthodox Jews who loved me despite how much I was questioning them, pushing back on their religion. And those few, like, basically they were mostly like rabbis or just sweet people, being shown compassion by those people, no matter what, like that taught me to like just love people I disagree with and be able to get along with people that have different life perspective. And because I was given that, I was shown that. I was like being like, I think your whole idea of God and the universe is stupid and here's why, and I disagree. And I was like this angry teenager, and they were like, yeah, that's okay. He's like, I see it differently and here's why, but like that makes a lot of sense that, given that battle of nuance and like that room for like, yeah, all right, still love you though, that was cool. Like it wasn't all two dimensional. It wasn't all tyranny. There's a lot of that too, but
some leaders, religious leaders, a rabbi, a priest, a reverend, imam, yeah. Some are just like anybody else, a teacher or someone important, are better than others.
Exactly.
And in my experience, I've had a lot of experience with reverends and pastors. The best ones have been the ones that were the craziest people when they were young, and they wanted to change their life. It was kind of like a calling. So they tend to be the most patient, understanding, most forgiving.
Yes.
Less likely to like point fingers and guilt you, but more like, listen, I've actually done this too. I also got caught drinking and driving.
Yeah.
That's why I'm actually here now, because I wanted to stop being that way. So let me like guide you and help you, or like, yeah, I also got arrested, or I also got caught up doing shady stuff with the law or with women or whatever. And now I'm here to maybe give a better example and like help you, instead of being that adult that's like, you're bad, this is why God said this, you're going to hell unless you do this, this, and that. That usually just pushes people away.
Of course.
It scares people.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's still pervasive. I don't know what the math is, but yeah. There's beauty and kindness everywhere, and then there's the opposite everywhere too.
And they're the ones that usually give any religion a bad name.
Yeah.
And not even just religion, just even if it's like a political view or a business, a company.
Yeah.
When you get someone who's just not being the best representation for it, it can make everyone think like, oh, that's bad or that sucks. It happens with ethnicities, religions, races, genders.
Yeah, Puerto Ricans.
Yeah, I have Puerto Rican cousins. And you can take any race and be like, oh, this, and that. Any ethnicity, any people. There's men who hate women just because maybe two women hurt their feelings in their life.
Yeah, their mother was a hurt person and didn't love them well.
Yeah, mother, or they had one girlfriend who was terrible to them, so now they hate women. It's like, it's not that simple.
Yeah.
And maybe something happened to her, and that's why she was behaving that way. Maybe a guy did it to her, so she behaved that way towards you. You got to unravel some stuff.
It keeps going
all
the way.
Simple.
All the way back to the beginning, the fish or Adam or whatever.
In the beginning, God created pain and the earth and said, figure it out.
Ancestral trauma. He's like, yeah. The fun thing, back to like we were talking about food, like I still get so emotional and like excited when I get to try different cultures' foods, and I still like I'll eat it like a little taco truck and get like a lengua taco, and it's like it's just insane.
It's amazing.
I can't believe I get to eat this. Yeah, Thai food still does it for me.
I have this stuff all the time because I live so close to all the type of food, and I can't imagine a life like not having that exposure.
Yeah, and then also like even forget like religion or Judaism or whatever. Like 100 years ago, there was no freaking sushi. 50 years ago, there was no sushi in America.
No.
we take it so for
A
granted.
lot of stuff was not around here.
Yeah.
Just 30 years ago, like when I grew up, the stuff that we ate, I did not have Middle Eastern food. I didn't have Thai food. I didn't have Vietnamese food.
Yeah.
I had Chinese food, Mexican food, and then the food my mom made at home.
Yeah.
A little bit of Italian, a little bit of like different variations of European food.
Yeah. Do you remember your first like pho or something, or like?
Yeah, I think the first time I had pho was probably like within the last 10 years. Wow. About over 25 years old.
Yeah.
Thai food, I think I might have been like 20. I had Chinese food all the time.
Yeah.
But where I grew up was mostly Chinese food. They didn't have Thai or Vietnamese or Filipino. And Middle Eastern food, once I discovered I couldn't, that's all I started eating was, falafels and hummus because I grew up.
Dude, it's the best.
And hummus wasn't a cool, hip, healthy thing yet. Whole Foods wasn't popular yet.
Yeah.
And I asked my mom, I was like, how come we never had like, avocado with our meals and like hummus? And she's like, that crap wasn't even like real yet.
They hadn't gotten their new marketing.
She's like, because I had a lot of guacamole growing up. I'm half Mexican. We made a lot of Mexican food, but we never had avocado in any other way except for in guacamole.
Wow.
To the point where I thought guacamole was avocado. Like I thought if you opened up an avocado, like guacamole came out. Because I didn't know any different.
They're working on that.
Yeah, I didn't know you can like put it on toast and put it on this, and you can put it on a burger. Like it wasn't.
Yeah.
The health craze of like smoothies and hummus and avocado was not around in the 90s.
Yeah.
And if it was only at a Whole Foods, and you had to be wealthy to go to those places.
Yeah, exactly. Only like
So I never knew about
coastal cities.
And now it's normal. Now like everyone has had hummus. And hummus is like everywhere. It's at so many restaurants. It's like it's just an abundant thing, and it just was not when I was a kid.
Yeah, and we shouldn't same with like how like accessible music is, and you talk to people just like even like the stories of, like the Beatles going across town to learn a chord. They'd like all get on the bus, the four of them, Four-Head Monster, and they'd get on a bus in like Liverpool to go learn like the B7 chord. And like now you just put it on and like Marty Schwartz is there teaching you everything.
Yeah.
And like all of it, like when they played that B7 chord, it's like it meant something, and it's important, and at least in my life, just like staying present and appreciating everything I have of like, like I want to appreciate hummus and and all kinds of food. Like I still am really mindful of like I'm eating Japanese food now. Like this is crazy. I wasn't allowed to have this, and I broke out, and now I could like taste sashimi.
So what did you think of other worlds and cultures when you were 12? Did you know about them?
You knew a little bit about them.
Looking at these maps and reading a history book, like understanding that Japan is a country.
I knew Japan was a country, but yeah, there's very little like curiosity. And that's also like a little bit of a sad part. It's like there was no curiosity of like, how do other people live? Why do they live that way?
Mm-hmm.
What are they doing right?
Mm-hmm.
What are they good at?
Other religions?
Yeah, but like you'd always have like the dumbest version of Christianity representative. Like, look how dumb they are,
No, it's not wrong actually, because Christianity did the same thing.
Of course, and Christians do it amongst each other. Like, look how dumb those Catholics are.
Yeah, if you were Catholic, Catholics were almost like the arch nemesis. Yeah. Like if you're a non-denominational like Protestant, Catholics are like they are going to. I heard that all the time.
Yeah.
Oh, they're Catholic. Oh, they're going to hell. That's why they're upset.
Yeah, because they're
going to hell.
Something slightly
and
different.
It's like it's the same. It's Christianity, and then Muslim. Forget about it. They're just like some foreign. Evil entity that
they're all
caused
the worst.
wars and caused the World Trade Centers. Like it was all bad. Yeah. And then Jews were always kind of like, we'll just sweep them under the map.
Yeah,
like they'll just go under the map. They're not like bad. They kind of
definitely not
Jesus
good.
was Jewish, so
they're all right. I guess
we don't have to worry about them. They're only like a small percentage.
They're small,
of the
but
world
let's keep it that way, ideally. But
it was the Catholics were the worst.
Yeah.
Then it was Muslim. Then it was Jewish, and then anything else they didn't even talk about it.
Yeah,
if there was another religion, it's like
doesn't exist.
Africa, well, who cares?
Yeah, a bunch of they're all hungry.
I just remember hearing. If I ever met a friend who was Catholic, I remember feeling bad for them.
You're going out.
I remember thinking I had to like save
Enjoy
them.
this.
I had to like corner them in their bedroom and save them and have them have
so
Jesus
silly.
accept in their heart. Otherwise, they're going to hell.
Yeah,
and that's not right.
Not
or
ideal.
A good way to make kids think.
Not good.
This guilt. You're 8 years old and you're like, little Timmy's going to go to hell.
Damn,
because he's Catholic.
He's Catholic. He can't help it.
I thought they were different religions when I was a kid. I had no idea Catholic was Christianity.
Thing.
I was like, Catholic's bad.
Another Ari Shaffir joke. He's like, you guys, like, you just like, yeah, well, we believe Jesus carried the cross like a little bit higher on his back. I'm like, well, like, that's the difference. I don't know, like, and I want to be clear, like, and you probably feel this way too. Like, I'm not against religion at all. Like, I think one of the great, if like ever there's like a a super Orthodox Jew that comes up to me and he's like, hey, I'm trying to leave. Like, how did you do it? Should I leave? That kind of thing. I'm always like, it's not easy on the outside either. And like having a community and a way of life and a trajectory of life is like really important. Think like also like just community, man. Like I drive through all these little towns playing shows and stuff, and there's always closed down churches. And you're just like, do those people, when do they get together? They don't. Everybody's lonely, watching television, having whatever biased news thing on their phones. And they're, it's rough. It's rough out here.
Community's good.
It's
when the church community gets too extreme, and it's hard to know that balance. Or when it's
exactly
taking too much money, ripping off their congregation. Ripping off their congregation and embezzling and money laundering. Like the list of sketchy stuff goes on.
They hide the abuses. Yeah, it's
I have no problem with religion or church. And the one I grew up in was actually really nice and great, and it wasn't based on material. The people running it did not make a lot of money. You can tell it was all about helping each other out.
Yeah, you could just feel it, man. You feel it. You talk to somebody like, oh, you like love humanity and you love helping people. And yeah, I love it. And sometimes you'll see that on like a like a local council person or whatever. It's like, you really care. Or like, you're just trying to like control people and get power. And yeah. And, obviously like it's no mystery to me that like music has become like my new religion and my new tribe and community. And it fills some of those voids. And I'm so grateful. Like,
when did you start playing it?
In Israel, I started like writing songs because before that, I just wanted to be like Slash. I had my electric guitar.
So you were playing guitar in high school?
Yeah. I picked up guitar in high school and like and at the same time like discovering all this classic rock and became obsessed with electric guitar, obsessed with Guns N' Roses.
So they let you have that? Isn't that very secular?
It's
like the most ultimate secular
it's antithetical
instrument of all time.
Yeah, that's why like I ended up in the school in Connecticut where they would let me play my electric guitar like in the school building. And I bought like I worked all summer, got a Gibson Les Paul.
Oh, nice.
It's like I'm like, I sound just like Slash. It was so
just
sick.
not the 59 Les Paul.
No, it was like the studio. It was
not
like
the $250,000 one.
No, it was the cheapest Gibson Les Paul out there. Yeah, but I love, like, I'll forever be grateful to those rabbis for like accepting me and letting me play guitar and being interested. I'd be like wailing like awful pentatonic guitar solos in like the school building, and you could hear it down the hall, and everyone was like, "Yeah, it's cool,
no one cared.
Have fun, yeah, like that's Shlomo, go for it," And that acceptance is so cool, and like, but the first when I fully left the religion, I moved back to New York after like being in Israel and traveling, and then I was like, I'm gonna figure out how to do this, whatever doing this means. Still haven't figured it out, by the way. Like, I was like, I got like a little manager and ended up in this little community, and I started touring, and I remember I was playing Burlington, Vermont, and I needed a place to stay, and I put on Facebook. It's like, does anyone know anyone in Burlington? And I had one friend that I made through Tumblr, who like was like, here's some people, and you could stay at. And I called them. They're like, yeah, we'll have you, no problem. And I ended up getting there. I was gonna have to get there after my gig, late at night. I was playing like Radio Bean or something, and they're like, "Yeah, we'll just leave the house open." And like, here's people I've never met, and they're just like, "Yeah, the house is open. Food. There's food in the fridge. Our dog Ozzy's gonna meet you." Like the amount of like compassion and generosity and openness like that like healed so much of like my fear of the outside world. Like I was so suspicious, raised to just be afraid of the outside world. And here you are, like being like whatever indie music, like just, shown like the most inviting compassion and so healing, so cool, so grateful.
So you learned through that, like you don't have to be religious to have a community or have love or compassion. It could just be a human quality if you have some like-minded, things that cross over each other, some qualities.
Yeah.
Music,
people
art,
are cool.
film, fashion, food, traveling.
Yeah.
History, philosophy, questioning, just curious people.
Yeah, curious people. Yeah. Yeah, and it's like it's been like that ever since. And like moving down to Nashville a few years ago, like also like the community I've made, like I'm so grateful for it. Because it's very hard. Like I've other friends that left the religion, and they don't have that kind of easy in to like relate, and it takes them years to like make any friends. They're very lonely, and it's really hard.
It's sad.
It's very sad.
It's hard to make friends when you didn't do it your whole life.
Yeah.
Especially outside of your box.
Hard to make friends in general, and then you tack on this like weird, maybe not for you, but like
I always smile. I'm like, I don't know. I've never really had a hard time.
that
making
rules.
friends.
No, that rules. It's beautiful.
I think it depends on your personality.
Yes.
That person you said that invited you over and they weren't even there.
Yeah.
That's how I am.
Yeah.
My parents were
Clearly,
that way.
yeah.
I've been that way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Been that way forever. So that's probably what has helped making it easy to make friends and being comfortable with talking to people. I don't get uncomfortable.
Yeah, that
I don't get
rules.
embarrassed. I don't feel ashamed if something happens. Because when you spend enough time with people, you realize that everyone experiences that.
Yeah.
So why should I feel embarrassed now? And why should I point out something embarrassing that you're doing when I'm about to have something embarrassing happening at some point today?
Yeah.
I'm going to stub my toe.
I'm gonna need some
I'm
equity.
going to trip on something. I'm going to mispronounce a word.
Yeah.
I'm going to say a word a weird way. I'm going to speed. I'm going to accidentally stop too late while someone's crossing. They're going to get mad at me, but I'm going to apologize through the window. Like, this will happen all day today. So why should I judge somebody else or get mad at them when they do it? I always tell people, and they're like, when people express they get embarrassed easily, I'm like, think about it. Every day, all day, people are getting embarrassed in their own world. So, they're not thinking too hard about you. Most people are thinking about themselves.
Yeah.
Trust me.
It's a shame. Shame is like it's like a unfortunate version of narcissism, because you're just thinking of, I'm so important, and not to shame people who already feel shame. Jesus.
No, shame. You ever see Game of Thrones?
I've seen an episode. I've seen an episode.
You won't get
I think I saw the last one.
You saw the last
Yeah,
episode?
great. Perfect ending.
Oh
I don't know what everyone's
God.
talking about. It was a perfect ending. You guys are idiots.
Dragons came down and slayed. I don't understand. Oh my God, that's a funny show to only watch the ending of. Same with
I'll do
Breaking
it.
Bad. That'd be a terrible show to skip everything, just watch the ending. You're
Yeah.
like, I guess.
Was Bill Burr? I might have seen Bill Burr scene in there or something.
Bill Burr is the comedian. Bill Burr is in Breaking Bad. A couple episodes.
Yeah.
He plays like a henchman, not a bad guy, but not a good guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a funny scene where him and Huel, this other henchman of his, they get to lay on the money that Walter White's been saving up in a storage unit.
Nice.
I think it's something like $88 million in cash.
Nice.
And they lay on it, and they're just kind of making snow angels in it, Just I've always wanted to do. It's a funny episode.
That's great. $88 million of cash. That's why I got paid for my gig last night.
Yeah, $88 million in cash.
Yeah, not to brag.
Well, hopefully the IRS is not listening to this. You better pay some taxes.
Oh, I will. I'm happy to.
That'd be so much. What would that be in taxes? Probably like $40 million.
Too many.
I wouldn't feel bad though if I got 88
Oh,
million.
take it. Enjoy it.
And they're like, we got to take 40 million.
It's fine.
I would only feel bad where I would think, where are you spending the 40 million? Like if you're going
Don't
to take
do
40
that.
million from
Don't
me,
do
can
that.
you please
Don't
put
ask.
it to good places?
They won't. They won't.
You know,
They won't.
like,
It's
can you make sure there's water in the fire hydrants? Can you make sure that homeless shelters exist?
That's so adorable.
Can you make sure that potholes are filled?
Do you mind if we start some proxy wars first? Like, there's just.
Or do you mind if you pay the administration all way too much money to do basic jobs that the soldiers on the ground are doing, and they just get to sit up and go to the fancy golf courses and go to this place?
But here's the thing: we're different. I want to pay for that stuff. I'm excited. I don't care about the potholes.
Yeah.
Screw everybody.
Oh.
Yeah, man.
Potholes.
Potholes, dude. It's been so fun being in this region. Like, I love
The
Chicago.
potholes are fun here.
The potholes are intense.
They're bad. Lots
Aside
of
from
salt.
that, a lot of salt. I get it, man. It's hard being a road here. I don't envy
You got to
it.
anthropomorphize the roads.
Dude, imagine being a road.
Oh my God, the amount of piss and shit and ras crap and salt and drugs and needles and
All at once.
oils, all the oils from all the
It
cars.
was a rough night.
They're filthy streets.
Yeah.
The streets are so dirty around
Yeah,
here.
but I played Milwaukee last night, and
What venue?
Cactus Club.
Cactus Club.
Yeah, great venue, sweet people. Yeah, and I'm staying like Bayview area there. It's beautiful, so romantic.
never
You could walk
stayed.
to the lake.
Okay.
And I was here in the summer in Chicago, and I got to I swam in Lake Michigan.
It's fun, right? Is it your first time
fun.
doing it?
First time doing it.
Great.
First time
Nice and
like
chilly.
It was beautiful. It was really cold. I was with a bunch of friends, and we all just jumped in. It was lovely.
I do it all the time.
So you're
I
so
usually
lucky.
go until October.
Yeah.
I like it because not a lot of people are there or in
Yeah.
it, and you're usually the only one in the water. But the water stays warmer for a while because it's such a big body of water. As long as it takes to warm up, it takes just as long as to cool off.
Right.
So it's not really swimmable until July. unfortunately, whereas a lot of smaller lakes you can swim in late May after Memorial Day weekend
Yeah.
because it's such a big body of water that it takes a while to go from 48 to 68.
Yeah.
But once it gets there in July and it's like 67, 68, 69, it never really gets up to 70.
Yeah.
It
home
kind of
free.
stays that way until September. And then by October, maybe it drops down to like 65, 64. But it's not that bad. So on a nice, warm October day, you can definitely jump in the water.
It's magical.
Yeah. I do it all the time. I like it a lot. I'm about 2 miles from the lake here, so I will walk. Could go straight to that road right there and just walk directly a beeline straight 2 miles to the lake. And it's fun. It's a nice area. The beach I go to let me say this, you don't want to go at night. The last year I went, it's a terrible story. I'm not trying to laugh. I had a plan to go. I'm about to go with a friend, and I see on the news that two people were just... No. I went with a friend, and that night we get back, and I see on the news that two people were just shot and killed there at the exact spot we were at.
Damn.
And then
Not ideal.
I tell my friends I'm going to go back there the next day with my friends. I'm like, hey, just so you know, like that happened last night, but like I'm still down to go because during the day it's fine. So we go with my friends. There's a lot more police around.
Yeah.
Police presence. We leave. The next morning I wake up, another people shot in the exact same place,
Oh, no.
same beach. And I'm like, oh my God. 2 nights in a row, the 2 days I go, this happens. And it's not funny. It's just that is Chicago, and that is a problem, and that is sad that that's happening at public beaches where people are supposed to go to have fun.
Yeah. I'm glad, but again, back to the, I'm glad our money's going to help.
Yeah.
help
Our
these
tax
things.
dollars are
It's
paying for
it's
that.
No big deal. You're welcome.
It's
Yeah.
it's complicated. It's not. It's these beaches on the south side are close to a lot of rough neighborhoods that need a lot more stability. Small businesses for economic growth. More banks. More small restaurants and venue, like things like arts and culture to bring people in to make
Yeah.
money. A
Would
reason to
they,
live.
Would they settle for a Dunkin'? So,
Yeah. Oh, they'll get a lot of Dunkins,
yeah.
gas stations, food deserts. You
Dude,
know.
it breaks my heart, man, driving through the country sometimes, and you see all the closed down diners and closed down small restaurants, the Japanese restaurant, the Italian restaurant, and then there's like there's a Denny's and a Dunkin', and you're like, this place used to be something.
Yeah, a Chick-fil-A, a Dunkin',
Yeah.
a Whataburger,
Anyway, we don't want to be
a
bummers.
Wally's.
Yeah.
a Buc-ee's.
Okay, now that's cool.
Now
That's
I love
great.
me a Buc-ee's.
they pay their people well.
Yeah, apparently they do.
Yeah,
I've
clean
heard that.
bathrooms.
Yeah, it's but those are like a tourist trap. Like
Yes.
you have to stop when you go to a
It's
Buc-ee's.
the American dream.
I was just one in Florida about a month ago, and I loved it. Got some beef jerky, got a pulled
Nice.
pork sandwich,
Nice.
got some beer. Oh, I don't know. I think I bought a T-shirt. I try to find the mascot every time if he's there. Do they have any in Tennessee?
Oh, we're big. I think we invented. No, it's got to be Texas.
It's
right?
got to be Texas.
It's got to be Texas. Yeah, we have a bunch of
Florida.
Buc-ee's. We got
You
a lot,
do?
of, lot
Okay.
of Buc-ee's.
Hardee's. You got Hardee's.
We got a Hardee's.
What
Yeah.
else do you have? Do you have Crystal Burger?
Probably.
What are some other famous
We
ones?
might be getting an In-N-Out.
In-N-Out,
We'll see.
okay.
Yeah, as the more Californians move to Nashville.
Yeah, that's a lot of people are doing
They're
that.
bringing In-N-Out. Yeah.
California, Chicago,
Mm-hmm.
New York, Washington. People are moving to Texas and Florida and Nashville like a lot.
Mm.
A lot. When I was in Nashville in August 2013 filming those bands at Dark Matter, my friend's house I was staying at, Safari Room, shout out to Alec.
Hey.
When he was at work, I would go walk
got it.
around town, and there were so many houses being built like everywhere.
Yeah.
Like brand new homes, kind of tiny. A
Yeah.
lot of tiny, like cookie cutter looking, colorful
Yeah, they call them
homes.
tall and skinnies.
Yeah, a lot of those everywhere. I was like, oh my God, like all over the place, everywhere I looked.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should have bought a lot of real estate. You'd be a
I
trillionaire.
know.
Yeah, it's weird times, and yeah, we'll see what happens. But
What's it like been for you? How long have you been there? 3 years?
3 years. Yeah, I love it. I'm very
Okay, so you kind of got there at the beginning of
got there at the
growth.
beginning, I guess. Yeah. And we got like a great place in cheap rent, and like made a bunch of just some of the coolest, sweetest friends, and yeah, like I feel so at home there. Yeah, I don't like the tornadoes. I hate
So
the
they're that
weather's
bad, huh?
I don't know, man. It's just like if you're from the Northeast, you're like, a tornado watch? There's our bunker? Like we gotta, everyone's just driving to work.
They're used to it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like where you're from, blizzards.
Yeah, I
You're like,
guess.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like when I hear about them here, Like this whole week, it's supposed to like not get above like 10 degrees pretty much for 5 days.
Yeah, right now it's like 0 degrees.
Yeah, and I'm just like, and
who cares?
Like I'm gonna go for a 5-mile walk.
It's gonna be great.
Like this afternoon.
Just wear a sweater.
Yeah, you have to just have the right material, the right socks, the right boots, the right pants, and if you have long underwear, stuff like that. If you do that, it's not bad.
Get some long johns, you'll be all right.
It's really not bad.
Yeah,
I rather have that than the hot summers we get. We get really humid summers.
You do?
The swamps.
Okay, yeah, not
bad.
Nashville is swampy.
Yours
as
is
hell, and it's
Nashville's
disgusting.
worse.
It's awful
for heat. It's 500 miles south, so it's definitely worse.
How do you balance like I mean, you have so much community here.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Nashville is an amazing community, and everyone there has moved from somewhere beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
People leave like the most beautiful parts of the United States or the world to live in Nashville, in this kind of flat place with not much.
There's some hill. There's
a couple of hills.
You start to see the Appalachians form literally around.
Yeah,
give it some love.
Like, if you drive 2 hours, but
to the real ones, yes, yes.
But like, because I want to live in the mountains on a little farm.
Just gotta drive 2 hours.
You just gotta drive
or
2
to
hours.
Gettenberg.
But yeah, do you like
hop
leave,
on 20 and go east?
Do you leave community in lieu of like to have like a little farm and with a creek and a river and
I've been thinking about this my whole life.
Community's more important because it is like then you're alone. You're lonely. You got the mountains and the stream, but it's a lonely way of life. And community is so
if you can get
sacred.
just outside the city. I had a sick spot before. I only, again, is mostly financial reasons.
This spot is sick.
This spot's sick, but the other spot was 20 minutes away, surrounded by forest preserves on an acre of land. Every neighbor had an acre of land. I had a festival there. That's how spread out it was.
Yeah.
And I got to do both, but then if I wanted to have community or be in Chicago, I just drive 20 minutes up I-55.
That's the way to do it.
I was on the same address street system.
Yeah.
Like I don't actually want to say my streets on the internet.
Smart.
But where I'm at now, I was just exactly like 40 blocks out because it's all the same numbers. Mm-hmm. So it was really part of Chicago, but separate. And I got to like disappear, not be on top of each other, and the sounds and the smells. And I can actually plant stuff in my backyard because it wasn't layered with lead like it is in Chicago, where you can't even grow stuff here because of all the lead and the asbestos and the brake dust and the cancer.
Oh, God.
Ideally, my goal would be to have a small little dinky apartment in the city and then have a small little dinky cabin out.
What a dream.
Maybe something reasonable. No further than 4 hours away, no closer than an hour.
I love it.
You know what I mean?
That's
so you can still like, I'm going to go into the city for the weekend because I have some friends playing. Someone's going to stay the night. I want to try out some new restaurants. And then like Monday through Friday, like I'm going to go be peaceful and actually have fresh air and think and not be mesmerized by the never-ending hustle of a couple million people on top of each other.
It's wild.
And the streets are safe.
Yeah.
The streets can be very safe here and also very dangerous depending on your street IQ and social IQ.
Yeah, I stayed at a friend's apartment in Chicago. And
Do you know the neighborhood?
No, but it was like, I think the Latin Kings were the local gang.
Do you know the streets it might have been?
No.
From here? You stayed there before here?
No, it was like a year ago, yeah. And it were
Sounds
just
like Humboldt Park.
Maybe. It was like pretty close to Chinatown, I think.
But, that's not that far from here. Was it Pilsen?
Maybe.
It sounds like Pilsen.
No, man. I'm sorry.
I'm right by Pilsen.
Okay. But yeah, they were just like, just don't go out at night. Mm-hmm. They're like, yeah, just, and like maybe a stray bullet will like hit us, but if you're cool, like no one's going to touch you. And I was like, okay.
It's true, but depends.
Yeah.
So like how you're dressed, maybe be careful. You stand out like you're not from here. But then again, you do look like a lot of people who just dress like they're from farmland on purpose, but they're in Chicago. You can't have anything on you. Don't bring any items, no jewelry, no cash, no money. You don't need a wallet unless you're driving a vehicle, so don't even bring your wallet with you because you can pay with your phone.
True.
Modern phones, people don't steal because you can't get into them, so you don't have to worry about that. This is not a stealing point anymore like it was a decade ago.
Taking notes.
Look around, constantly be like scanning and look like you're paying attention. The number one people who get pickpocketed or accosted on the street are not paying attention.
Yeah.
They don't have street IQ. They're not paying attention to what's happening. They're not looking ahead. They're not making eyes with people. If you lock eyes with a criminal who's they're thinking about maybe going after you, and you lock eyes, it shows that you see them and you're paying attention. So they're less likely to go after you. Paying attention on the streets, looking around like a tourist with a phone, that's never a good thing. The most likely place you'll be messed with is downtown. This is where the tourists go. And all of the street hustlers know that, so that's where they go to take advantage of the people who are foreign, who don't know any better. They play tricks on you. essentially just say no, thank you, and keep walking to every single person ever. If someone says, "Hey, do you got?" Nope, no, thank you. I don't have anything. Just keep walking all the time. Even if you do, you can have cash on you all day. Just say, "I don't know what you're talking about. Don't have anything. Keep walking." You can't get, because once they stop you, they'll pull a fast one. They'll bring out a chart. Every game under the book.
Oh, no.
All of them.
Yeah.
The trains can be quite dangerous with that, too. They're always selling drugs, cigarettes, weed, whatever they can.
You sound like a tour guide. You're just like, here's how to stay safe.
I could safely say I walk around the city more than anybody I know.
That rules.
It's what I do for exercise. Like after you leave, I'm going to go walk about 5.5 miles.
So healthy.
And it's great because you learn how the streets work. You learn how cars behave.
And you're present, man. You're just seeing life.
Yeah, it's fun. I like it. The key is the safe way is get to a park so you can get off the streets.
Yeah.
Because cars like to hop sidewalks and run people over. So if you get to a park that's inland more, you can at least protect yourself from cars. You don't have to be so stressed while you're walking down the street, you know. But this is true for every major city in America. When you go to a foreign country, there's some different rules to pay attention to. But in America, don't carry anything nice on you. Don't wear your nice stuff when you go out. Pay attention all the time. Don't stop for people. Ignore
them. Take my Gucci
them.
cap off.
Yeah, take off your Gucci clothes and your Louis Vuittons and your Miu Mius.
It's feeling good about this.
I know. I know. People I know that have that stuff, I'm like, when do you wear it? Because it's always dangerous to wear a $2,000 purse.
That's so funny.
You know, when the purse itself is more expensive than the things inside of it, you got to be very careful. Yeah. You strike me as someone who wears Gucci and Louis Vuitton. You ever been to any of those kind of stores?
Dude, where I live in Nashville, there's a mall relatively close, and I'll I like walking around too, and sometimes I'll end up walking by. I never go in, but I want to go in. There's always like a security guard.
Yeah.
I'm like, I just want to
He's
look
not there
around.
for you.
Yeah.
He's there for people that are stealing.
Yeah.
You think he's there for you because you're not dressed
Yeah,
well
I'm like,
enough
I don't
to
know,
go to
man.
Gucci?
They're on to me.
Yeah, he's there for people trying to steal.
Yeah, maybe I'll let you know. I'll report back. But yeah, it's sad because like those things have sort of taken the place of people used to spend a lot of money on something that was like built really well by hand by a galler dude that were just like making it the old fashioned way. So people think of expensive clothing, they think of that instead of like a handmade boot or sweater. Like I have a buddy in Nashville who she knits sweaters, and like I want to commission one. So so expensive, but like
what,
that
500 or something?
a lot.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's hard.
Yeah, and she gets like really special wool. I did commission a lady at the farmer's market to make like a wool beanie out of like her sheep. She has sheep out in Tennessee. And
wait, is that kosher?
Good question. It is. Oh, dude, here's how deep the rules go. If you get a wool suit, you have to take it to someone that's like a shotness checker, and they check. You're not allowed to mix linen and wool, I think, or one of the two materials. You're not allowed to mix them. So they check it. You bring it to them. They have a magnifying glass, and they make sure like, it's real 100% wool. And they you get a suit. You go to the place. You drop it off for a couple of days, and then you pick it up. It's insane. The amount of rules.
Is there a book?
There's books. There's books.
Who wrote these books? Because they're not in the Bible.
No, it's all based on some random thing in the Bible, and then like run with
one of the first 5 books.
55 degrees exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Are there any other books you have? Is there like a Jewish Bible?
There's the first, the Bible, the OG Bible. Yeah.
But there's nothing.
It's Hebrew, so it's slightly different. But yeah, it's then there's prophets called Navi, and then there's something called Mishnayos and Gemara. Gemara is the Talmudic law and study. It's all these books that are all basically Babylonian era rabbinical scholars arguing and talking and talking all about the laws of like, well, it says this. It says you can't cook a baby goat in its mother's milk. Well, what about this? What about this? And then and then there's books on books. There's like an endless amount of books. Yeah.
So it almost sounds like the same problems we have today, where people are going to read something they happen and interpret it their own way, but because they have the power, that be a high rabbi. I don't mean high on drugs. I mean like high up ranking.
Yeah, both.
You know what I mean? Oh yeah. We'll get back to that. So they might be the ones saying the arbiter of the information. Like, hey, this is what we said.
Yeah, it's political.
Political, money, donations.
Yep.
Anyone can be corrupted.
Anyone can be corrupted, and yeah, that's true. Some of it, again, yeah, I'm sure there's like purity, because a lot of it was like, okay, if an ox gets into your neighbor's yard and like ruins their crops, who's responsible? How much do you pay? And it's like, well, but what if their gate was open? What if it was like I don't know. There's just an
So different
endless
versions
amount.
of laws,
The
like
most
actual laws.
neurotic, like, yeah, what if this happens? All like an endless. There's literally 20 volumes of the Talmud. Yeah, and people study it all day. Like people will study it day and night. Like
I
the,
bet if you want to be a good rabbi.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's people's different interpretations of stuff.
It's different interpretations, but there's always like now there's a tradition of like which one we actually went with, because then there's something called the Shulchan Aruch, which is the like definitive law book of modern Jewry, and it's basically like, well, there are two different rabbis, Rav Papa and Rav Hillel, but like we go with Rav Hillel. We went with his like idea or opinion. Which was good. Like it taught me like critical thinking, and I guess
That's all. It was good. Taught me critical thinking.
yeah,
And
you could
and-
literally get like a degree in it. And a lot of like modern day laws are based on a lot of Talmudic law. Some of it was really cool, very moral. Of like, well, what does a moral society look like?
Like what? Can you give an example?
Like just ethics of romance, of a lot of property damage, a lot of like who owes who money, and how much, and how do you pay, and what if someone does this bad thing? You know, what is their sentence? You know,
Do they take into consideration eminent domain by the government?
I don't know. Everything's taken into consideration.
That
It's
probably
funny,
that
but,
concept
like,
probably didn't exist yet, did it?
I don't know.
Like,
Well, there's
hey,
like
we're
no
gonna
man's
build
land.
we got to build a highway. We're gonna have to take your hut. I don't care if it's your property. We're gonna go do it
wonder.
anyway.
Yeah, but I'm sure there's like a through line of thinking. For
I guess it
that,
could have been old school, like the king wants to build onto the palace. They're gonna take your land. It's probably a rule.
Yeah, that's
of that,
tough.
you know.
Yeah,
Whenever I hear about that eminent domain, they're like, sorry.
crazy.
The government's gonna, I'm like, what?
crazy.
Who backs down from that? Because
It's
I
crazy.
wouldn't.
Yeah.
I'd have to start fighting sheriffs.
you'll see those pictures where it's like a highway around one guy's
Yeah,
house.
that'd
who
be
wouldn't
me.
Sell. Yeah.
I'd be like, why? No, I would barricade. I could barricade myself really well. I'm good at building. I would block myself in my house. No one's getting in. The tank's going to have to come in. By then, they're going to hurt something, and I could just sue them.
Nice.
I don't know, but I would never, ever, ever back down. Even if I wanted to sell the house, like they were giving me a good price, just for the principle of it, I would hold on to the last second. Okay, I'll take the money.
Yeah.
Cause them a lot of money.
Get your
to
cabin.
hire people to try to get me out, and I would just finally be like, okay, I'll leave.
So fair.
I don't know how they do that or how they force you.
It's such a bummer. Yeah, you'll
It's
see
the
whole
weirdest law
towns-
ever.
Yeah.
It's like, wait, so I came here, I'm born here, I bought this with my money.
Yeah.
It's my, air quotes, my land. And then you're just going to take it back to build a highway? I don't know about that, but I bet you they make it really difficult to refuse. I don't mean financially, I mean like legally,
Yeah.
which is bogus.
Yeah. Not good.
And then I'd have the kid, if they did make me move, I'm not done with this rant yet. After I have to leave, then a lot of mocktail cocktails are going to be hitting that construction site
Yeah.
indefinitely.
Make him pay down the road.
Yeah, and then they have to put up security cameras, so now I got to wear a mask. I hire the local kids, wear gloves. You guys go do it. They already got my fingerprints. No, it would never end. The destruction wouldn't end before they're like, we should probably just not do this. This guy's really, we can't prove it's him. Were there any
We
laws?
know it's him.
Are there any laws against retaliation or vengeance?
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do they say?
I don't remember. Wasn't paying attention.
You could just say, yeah, there's laws for all of them, but I don't
No,
know.
they're definitely like, yeah, what is like self-defense or revenge? Like, is a revenge retaliation? Is that a less of a sin? You know, is there less of a thing? And yeah.
So there's different tiers of sin.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, there's nuance to it. Like, yeah, but also so much of it was about like, just spending all day like existing in this like almost like trance state of like reading and arguing. Like
Argue?
yeah, it's a lot of like you almost reenact some of the rabbinical arguments and you make the point for each one. So there's a lot of like, well, think it out this way, think of it from this perspective. But what about this? What if this happened? But then you said this here.
Wait a minute.
Does that not apply for this? Like,
Is this where so many people in law,
yeah, of course,
writers,
yeah,
academics, I'm trying to think of people who argue the most.
yeah,
Professors, lawyers, doctors,
yeah.
writers, like authors and writers, people who are like giving concepts and ideas, directors, bankers. Am I wrong?
There's
There's a lot of,
something
and
there.
it takes a lot of philosophical thought. Like,
Yeah.
you have to think about these things.
Yeah, again, yeah, I think they're physical attributes.
And the funny thing is, like, why it's never a slight, because you're not punching out. These are all really good, well-paying jobs.
yeah, you're punching. Yeah,
So you're like,
Yeah.
you're actually like giving praise. Like, wait, you guys have like good jobs?
yeah. How'd you do
You
that?
know? Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like when a lot of people who are foreign.
The weather, control the weather.
I don't get that stuff. I don't understand when I hear people say, I don't even get anti-Semitism, honestly. It doesn't make any sense to me. But when someone does that,
Yeah,
I'm
I
like,
get it.
you get it? Maybe
We're
you might.
annoying. Like, shoot, you just show off.
But everyone's annoying.
Everyone
I
is
could
annoying.
name an
Everyone's
annoying
annoying.
attribute from all different types of people.
No, I don't.
I'm annoying right now. I'm
I
being
don't get
stubborn.
it. It's funny.
I won't leave my house for eminent domain. I'm annoying.
Yeah,
You know?
that's funny. It's
I
just
ask
funny
too many
to me.
questions sometimes. I'm annoying.
Yeah.
I don't let my guests relax. I just keep asking, like, what about this? What about that? You know, it's like, I don't know. Anything can be annoying, but
No, I like it.
when you see someone have a good job and a career, why would why turn? It's mostly because you're like angry that you don't have it. Like,
Yeah, that's like
envious.
the victim mentality, and that's another
Yeah.
thing. Like, I think as much as like Jews are they're such victims, but they do have that thing of like they're also like kind of not. Like, all right, you took all of our towns in Europe. Like, till this day, like I toured Poland. Like, you go to towns and it's like still all Jewish stores, but they're all gone.
Mm-hmm.
There's still the synagogues, the houses, they're all gone. It was taken from them. They're not like, hey, give that back. They're just like they moved on. They're like, all right,
Mm-hmm.
we'll go here. We'll move to America and figure it out. I like that example, and you see that everywhere. I mean, like my Mexican friends, none of them are victims. None of them. They're just like they're so present and passionate, and I don't know. I think that's
Grateful.
cool. Yeah,
when you have real adversity,
yeah,
and then you get to like just work unencumbered, you're like, okay, I will be grateful for this. And yeah, I mean, Mexican folks, my family, my dad, the hardest working people on planet Earth. I mean,
coolest, best food, hardest
Yeah.
working. And they have the best time.
best humor.
Not the stereotype.
Best
no.
humor.
Sorry about the stereotypes.
No, I mean, if someone says, "Hey, your people have the best time," I'd be like, "How
So
dare
sorry.
you?
I know.
Let
I
us
really
say we
shouldn't
have the best
stereotype.
time ever."
Yeah. You guys like have a really good community structure and you all look out for each other.
It's
And
people
seem
just
to have
being
really
too
tight-knit
sensitive
families.
these days, you
and-
know.
Yeah.
You know, they're like,
The victim thing is sad. It's sad how many people like really befall the victim mentality. I really feel for them. You know, I think they need a hug and they need compassion, and then they need someone like, you got this, be strong, fake it till you make it. Come on.
and look at the good stuff in it.
Look at the good
So
stuff.
I'm praising
Life's
our
okay.
culture for being good at something. That's not like ostracizing them or belittling them. I'm like giving a compliment to a people that have historically, risen up
Yeah.
and like got past things.
Yeah, Jesus.
Yeah, amen.
Good riser. I remember there's this dude who like he used to pick up milk from the farm, and he would always be like, he's like, your dad's my second favorite Jew, and I'm like, who's your first? He's like, Jesus Christ. I was like, what is wrong with you? I like that guy.
And the Jewish folks, they believe Jesus was real and he was Jewish,
He was
but they
just a
don't believe
dude.
he was the son of God or a prophet. Nah. Right?
No, what are you, crazy?
Yeah, right. Who is then?
But then, yeah, they have prophets. It's kind of weird. They have they're like, oh, they were all prophets. He wasn't.
Why not him?
I don't know, man. Just try.
What happened to where the Christians were like, no, this is what happened. The Jewish were like, no, it's not. And
Have
then the
you-
Muslims were like, no, he was a prophet, but he just wasn't as important
cool?
or as chosen as
Yeah, it wasn't top
Muhammad.
tier.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know enough about all three.
Same.
You know a lot more about Judaism than most because of
Yeah.
your background.
Yeah, I don't know enough about the others.
Yeah, why would you? You weren't allowed to.
Wasn't part of the education.
I know it did. It took a long time for me to learn about other religions because I was just not allowed to.
And I was
it took till
given
my
the-
20s to like start hearing about them.
It stinks. And the thing that bugged me, and I yelled, there's a rabbi in high school who he invited this kind of rabbi who supposedly was known to debate priests about religion, which is like so dumb. Just don't do that. Just be friends and talk. It's just an immature thing to do. And he would always come to the yeshiva, the school, and be like, here, this is how the debate went. And he was always right. He always won. And I'm like, this is the dumb, you're just like, you're probably lying, but also you're telling the dumbest version of that other religion to boost up your argument, which takes any validity out of anything you're saying. I yelled at the rabbi who invited him. Like, I yelled at him. I'm like, this is stupid and immature. And it's so like, it's derogatory, and it takes the teeth out of your own convictions.
What did they say?
He really hurt me. Yeah, which he was a cool guy. But like,
Oh, that's nice. I thought
yeah,
they
it
were
was
gonna
sweet.
chew you out.
No, he was cool. He was like, yeah, he at the very least like listened to me, or
Okay.
made me feel listened to. But like, I still do that, and I think it's annoying to some people. But like, I try to do that politically or everything. It's just like, yeah, but what's the other perspective?
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to be the dumbest version of how you're lying about it or describing it. It's like they have a different perspective. And if you go, oh, it's because they're all cruel and bad people, it's like, no.
Yeah.
No. There's probably like a very compelling other perspective that if you listen to, you would relate and agree with a lot of it. And you'd have way more common ground than you're taught to believe. And yeah, but that's annoying because I feel like then you become a devil's advocate person and people are just like, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it shouldn't be a debate. It should more of have a peaceful conversation when you are going to have like one religion versus another one, or one type of philosopher versus this person. Any opposing views.
Yeah.
It should be more of a pod like this.
Yeah.
It's my favorite podcast where two opposite people are just
think about how much we disagree about
so much. Wait, music? It saved your life?
Oh, I hate it.
Wow. It's funny enough when you brought up music kind of being the thing that helped you have a community or save your life when you didn't have religion anymore.
Yeah.
Similar thing happened to me.
Really?
Like my friends, the clubhouse we were in, the festival, the studio, just having a place to hang out with people.
Yeah.
Musicians, having new people come in, talk to people and realize that religion isn't everything. There's some beautiful parts of it, but there's more to life than that. There's more to people.
Yeah.
More to be. You might not know someone. Someone can come in that has a different skin tone than you and a different religion than you and was born in a different place on this planet than you. Yeah. And you could relate to stuff and you can actually learn a lot from them. And you see the most important thing, the similarities.
Yeah.
We pretty much just want to be loved, stay alive, not be physically hurt, not be emotionally hurt, which is the love thing, and enjoy the stuff we do.
Yeah, good
and
food,
just like make sure we're
laugh.
safe. Some clean water,
Yeah.
place to sleep at night so I can get some good sleep and not be stressed from like bombs going off or gunshots or robberies. Like if you can just give me those things.
Yeah, and sell 1 million records. I agree. It's like, yeah, everyone wants the same things.
Do you really
The
want to sell 1
basics
million
of life.
records?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
How much money would you make if you sold 1 million records?
Dude, probably not a lot.
Probably like 40 grand.
Yeah, the joke, or like, it's not funny. It's not a joke. But like every time I'll run into a buddy and man, I ran into this friend and she's like, dude, you're living the dream. You're doing it. And I was like, yeah, but like I want to be able to like pay my bass player like a lot of money.
Yeah.
And like until I'm there, I'm just like I'm taking more than I'm giving or something. But not to dog and all that.
No. I understand. I hear that quite a bit too from peers. I'm like,
pay the engineer's mortgage.
I'm like, yeah.
That's success. That's fame.
Yeah.
That's
if you could if you have a team, you could pay your engineer, an assistant, bass, drummer, technicians.
Yeah.
If
maybe even like a percussionist.
It'd be amazing.
Yeah.
The money's there. We're just not being allowed to access it. It exists. If you took all the money in the world, it's there. It's just not being put in those locations. It's being focused on the top musicians that don't need any more of it. It's being focused.
They might need it. I think.
I know. I always have to burst my
got
students' bubbles when they're like, "Can you believe Beyonce won the new album of the year?" I was like,
Country
"Do you
music,
think she needs that? Do you think she doesn't have enough money? Because the accolades bring more money to you, because bring more eyes.
Sure.
Do they need that? Does she need another one? She got like 20 something, a couple hundred nominations. She needs more.
does.
She's like only a couple years older than me.
I think she'll die if like she doesn't get another Grammy. Or something.
Everyone's like, "Oh, I'm so glad." I'm like, I could give, and it's nothing against her. I could sing more Destiny's Child songs than most men that are straight at my age. Trust me.
Love it.
I love Beyonce. I think she's got an amazing voice, but I know a couple hundred other 1,000 million people that have great voices that actually read through music.
Yeah, Matthew McNeil.
I mean, I can go on forever.
Yeah.
I could look at the list right next to me.
Yeah.
So no, I'm not impressed that someone did it. And with the help of like hundreds of people, by the way, she didn't do much on her own. Now, maybe she did 25 years ago, but not anymore.
She's open micing
Taylor Swift, Jay-Z, Kanye,
Take him down,
Drake,
buddy.
all of them.
Rip them apart.
Don't care. Even people I do like I do like Kendrick Lamar, but if he doesn't win anything, I don't care, because the dude has 90 million streams a month on Spotify alone. He doesn't need my money or my praise, nothing. He has a Pulitzer. He has enough things. He could die and he's set for life. Or he can quit right now and be set for life. He'd be dead for life. But he could quit music right now and be fine. And I have nothing wrong with them or anything against their style of music at all. I love all styles of music. It's the same names, the same people, propping them up, giving them way too much money. Them not being aware that they're not real artists, in my opinion, because a real artist would be self-aware of the community and the art and the creativity and the expression it took to get to where they are, and they would give it back. They'd feed it back in. Not that they would give it all away, but they'd help out the people, their comrades, their contemporaries.
Yeah,
instead
be
of hoarding
visible.
it
Yeah.
and complaining about how they got, I can't say gypped anymore, but got screwed
Is
on,
gypped bad?
I don't know.
Why is it bad?
I don't know. It says something to do with gypsies, and you're not supposed to say gypsies anymore. Oh, gypsies, gyp, that's where it's from. But you get it. You're Eastern European, right? So you understand.
Yeah, I think gypsies are incredible. I think they're perfect.
It's funny. Everyone I have met from Eastern European hates gypsies, and they will say that out loud.
They all agree.
And they all agree. But then you go to America, and like, you can't say that. It's like, well, everyone who I met who actually knows them and hadn't just read about them in a book or saw them in a TV show doesn't have anything good to say. So I don't know what to tell you. Yeah, it's
can
really
all agree
funny.
on that.
It's
That's
and then
hilarious.
you'll hear a lot of people in America. They'll be like, "Oh man, we're so racist in this." I'm like, "Have you heard anyone from any other country, ever?
Anywhere.
Like ever?
We're so not racist.
We're actually not that bad.
not a
There's
racist
some problematic undertones here and there, but broadly speaking, I mean, have you looked at TV shows and award shows and music charts and politics and people in administration roles? There's all different types of genders, races, ethnicities, religions, and all these roles. So, like, I don't think you understand what you're saying. Like, go to a different country now.
And it's
go
not
to Russia.
It's not healthy.
You know?
It's not healthy for society to constantly like be beating itself up and saying we are horrible.
No, it's not.
We are born in sin. It's just like we're sin. It's not healthy for anyone.
And no country's not born in sin. They're all born in raping and pillaging. What are we talking about here? Either that or through illegal war efforts. It doesn't matter. No country's ever been created out of anything good, but it's pretty nasty stuff.
Let's start a nice country here. Yeah.
And in fact, how do you have a country unless you're defending it by killing people from letting them come in?
exactly.
Only until recently we didn't do that as drastically, but we did that. I mean, it's happening right now in other countries. We just don't put cameras on it. In Africa,
Yep.
there is a war or a civil war all day, every day somewhere, and
Yep.
we just don't care.
Yeah. Well, it's not fun.
It's not fun. It's not sexy.
Not a good hashtag.
So yeah, it's nonsense. It's nonsense.
Yeah, the whole like that was pretty funny too. And people were like, if you didn't like Kendrick's performance, you're a racist. Oh my god. It's like, no.
It doesn't make any
It's
sense.
just wrong. I love Kendrick. Didn't love the performance personally.
What didn't you like about it?
I thought it was a performance that had artistic integrity, but that's just not what the Super Bowl is for. I think the Super Bowl is to be wildly entertaining. Like Usher's performance is so crazily entertaining. It's almost like for a child. There's just like different shot, different thing happening.
So you like
most
Kendrick?
legendary-
You like the music?
Love Kendrick.
You like how he performs? You just think that whole thing just didn't fit the kind of
Yeah, I think there's like a little
image of it, or
I
you think that's a good thing? Maybe get away from the corny image of the corporate
that's
world.
a good point. Yeah, but yeah, I felt like it was a little bit of like you have to be in on the joke. Like when I think of
I see what
like
you're
a
saying.
sweet, innocent, like Midwestern mom who's trying to love it, who's like, oh, this is cool. Yeah, like the kids like this music.
Doesn't get any of this stuff.
And it's just like I really like I'm trying, but I don't understand a single word. There's the context is interesting. Like at Samuel L. Jackson, Uncle Sam, that's fun, but like there's nothing that's really inviting her in and giving over the narrative in like a welcoming, palatable way. And then for people go on the internet and then yell at her and call her racist or whatever, she's like, no, I just didn't like it. I think that's bad.
I think it's just too loud right now because there's been about 58 Super Bowl performances or so. I don't know when they started doing it, but there's been 58 Super Bowls. And every year we had a new performer, and every year you're going to get, a third of people who hate it, a third of people who love it, and a third of people who are like indifferent. Maybe they like it, maybe they're kind of confused, maybe they don't get it.
Yeah.
That's been happening since all the performances ever. Look at, I think it was like 1991, New Kids on the Block performed, and it was horrible.
Yeah.
It was terrible. It's so corny.
Yeah.
Michael Jackson, his performance one was pretty corny in like
loved it.
82.
I loved Michael Jackson's.
It's like not bad, but it's like nothing special either. It's pretty on the nose and pretty generic. And then there was what was the one? There's a popular one of just like rock bands, just kind of just
Springsteen,
doing
Springsteen's
like a
was
rock
great.
show.
Springsteen's
Mostly,
was great. Tom Petty did it. It was just like, we're at a Tom Petty show, and everyone
The
cheered.
Prince one when it was raining.
Prince is the greatest.
That one was great because it was
Number one.
raining. That added to it.
Prince is
it's
number
like,
one.
it's
Rihanna's,
also
I thought
rock.
Rihanna's was incredible.
Rihanna's was pretty
really
cool 'cause
special.
the
The
raising
thing,
stages
and
and
she's
stuff.
pregnant. Katy Perry's was great. Yeah. When I was a kid, when I was like really into Slash came out and joined Black Eyed Peas. That was
I remember that
exciting.
one.
That was fun.
I remember that one. Yeah, see, knowing all the inside stuff and being very much aware of hip hop and rap and the Super Bowl and the history of it and the issues of it being a very... Everyone in it is black. Not everyone. Most people in the NFL are black. Yet most people who want it to be a certain way are white. So to have one time where people did it a different way, from a different approach, from a different culture, it's like you don't have to like enjoy it on a creative level, but like maybe this year just wasn't for that demographic. Because what if it was just? What if it was like think of like the whitest band? What if it was like
Taylor Swift.
Yeah, what if it was like Taylor Swift or what's another big one? Like Red Hot Chili
Coldplay.
Peppers, Coldplay, Red Hot Chili Peppers, something that's like very air quotes white.
Yeah.
The massive black community that watches it would, and that's mostly what it's been. It's mostly been white bands.
Has it?
But if you take all of the performance ever, yes, it's definitely mostly been white. Then when you look at it from that perspective, like,
What
who
stacked
cares?
is Michael Jackson? 'Cause he was already white.
Yeah, he was confused at that point. Yeah, so it's like, I don't know. I see why people didn't, and why you gotta voice your, no one cares.
Oh, no one cares.
Just watch and be like,
Yeah,
that was interesting. I don't know if I got it. Maybe I'll like the one next year.
Yeah.
You know,
I thought it was
doesn't
really
have to
cool.
be for everyone, you know?
I was like 10 minutes in, and I was like, he still hasn't had like a feature. I think that's so cool. Because the amount of like, okay, instant feature, and like barely anyone like did their own thing for a bunch of years now. I thought that was really, really cool.
And it was also the first hip hop performance, like just hip hop.
Dre?
That one that happened was they had a bunch of people with. It was like a ton of people.
Okay.
Like the one that happened a couple years ago was like 50 Cent,
that was
Eminem.
incredible.
But that was
Kendrick
like
was
a
on
bunch of
that,
them.
too.
This was like
Just
Kendrick.
singular.
And then they had SZA do like one little part of it, but it was just Kendrick.
Yeah.
Which is going to come off as a different performance when you do that. And they were trying to do like more of the messaging with the flag and everyone dancing. It was more like a
loved that
choreographed part.
I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I don't know. People got really upset about it. I was like, and then second of all, who cares? Again, gazillionaires getting paid to play a hobby.
Yeah.
Other gazillionaires getting paid to literally perform a hobby,
Yep.
which is music. The other one is a sport.
Yep.
Both, and the people in these realms, both highly overpaid and overvalued and over everything. So who cares at all? We should be mad at this is even happening. The fact that you have to pay $10 million to have a 30-second spot. The fact that we're still advertising alcohol and painkillers and DraftKings. Why are we advertising gambling to these kids? What do you think is going to happen, you idiots? So
They'll probably
the focus on where we're putting
They'll probably play responsibly.
yeah. Imagine your whole life you're on a phone and you can just start betting stuff.
Yeah.
And you just can't wait until you turn 21 to do it. You're just waiting. Back in the day, you used to have to feel guilty, lie to your wife, go down the street to the bookie. Hopefully no one breaks your kneecaps. It was way harder to do it.
It was way harder.
And that was probably way better and probably way more fun. Now it's just
True.
ruining sports.
You're just on your phone losing
My friends
money.
don't care about the game, who's playing. They care about if they win or not. They don't even care if their home team wins.
Yeah.
They just want to make sure that they cover the spread, plus or minus 5. I don't even know what they're talking about half the time. You know
I
what
don't
I'm talking
either.
about?
Oh, no, not at all.
You got to cover the spread. It's a parlay. You got to parlay.
Yeah.
I'm like, parlay like from the Pirates of the Caribbean parlay? Like from Jack Sparrow parlay? Oh, man. I sound like an old person, but I have paid attention enough. I've read enough. I've listened to enough statistics on it, and pushing gambling and drugs and alcohol to the public to make money off of it,
not
to
good.
promote something that already has enough money is a terrible, terrible
Yeah,
idea.
I like pharmaceutical. That's fun. I like that. They need help.
And the thing is, why do
And they look so happy.
You don't even have to advertise
They
it.
look so happy in the commercials.
They do.
Don't you want to be happy?
Zoloft.
You could be happy.
Side effects includes a shotgun
You'll
to
have
the
a
head
family.
or a
Instant
noose to
death.
the neck.
Yeah.
Either way, you're
Suicidal
winning.
tendencies. Yeah, not good. Not good. Maybe things
Speaking of something, well, we get end shortly. Something positive.
positive.
Music. Talk about music a little bit. So you started playing guitar. When did you start? Like you said in Jerusalem.
Yeah.
This is a funny segue. I was like, none of this. Let's get back to music.
No, I love it.
You started playing music in Jerusalem. You started writing songs. When did you start like really recording with intention? You're like, okay, I'm gonna make like an EP or an album. Like when did that happen?
Yeah, when I got back to New York, I started touring, and I made a few records that were just horrific and have since been wiped from the internet. And it took me a long time to like be like half decent in the studio. But yeah, I went into it with like, I'm just gonna play as many shows as I can, say yes to every show, and get good. Try to get good, figure this out, play in New York, figure out how to like be somewhat compelling on stage and give what I do over in a way that's, somewhat entertaining and interesting. And
which part of New York did you move back to?
so I lived in upstate New York, but I'd play in the city a lot.
So how far?
A couple hours.
Couple hours. Okay.
Yeah, make the drive. And
did you ever play Union Pool?
I've played Union Pool once, I think. Okay. Open for a friend there. Cool. Yeah, great venue.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah. It's close to like Pete's Candy Store, I think. I like it there. Yeah, I played Rockwood a lot. I played the Bitter End. I showed up, looking for Bob Dylan at the Bitter End kind of thing, and of course, it's like that place is just, that had, all the romance was gone. And, just there's a John Varvatos where there was like, where CBGB was. And
oh, yeah.
But yeah, I started playing music and recording and writing a ton of songs and just trying to get good. And I'm sort of still trying to do that.
I mean, your music, for those who weren't listening or didn't know, we did a video session before this.
It was fun.
Your two songs. It was fun. And your two songs very different from each other, but beautiful songs.
Thanks.
One's so quiet, more mellow. Kind of reminded me of more Bob Dylan. And then the louder one, even though it had more of the lyrical context and content for Bob Dylan-esque stuff, it kind of reminded me of something different, but really good. I liked it a lot.
Thanks.
Dynamic range, very soft to really loud, but good control over your voice and strumming, where the dynamics aren't too hard to work with or deal with. You get some people that are sing really loud, strum too quietly, or vice versa. They strum too loud and they're too soft of a singer. It's hard to like separate and mix them.
God, I hope my mom listens to this.
Why?
No, she'll be like, did you have a cold that day? I guess you were very sick. I'm like, no, this is a good vocal take for me.
Yeah.
She doesn't get it. It's okay. I'm working on therapy. She's lovely in other ways. Yeah, man. I'm so grateful to like do what I do. And, like I put out a record a few months back, a double album of like a bunch of songs that like been like kind of my road songs for a while. And
how many songs on it?
24.
12
Yeah.
and 12.
12 and 12.
Wow, that's a big one.
It was fun. Yeah, that was my second record. And then got a new song coming out March 14th called Wanna Go Back. And it's about not being able to go back somewhere because it doesn't exist anymore, that kind of thing. Yeah, I'm working on a bunch of records. I wrote kind of like what I think maybe is an album like in the past few weeks that I'd love to like just not overthink and record.
Do you do the recording yourself?
No, I'm so untalented. I tried. I bought like a decent enough microphone, but no, I can't do what you do. It takes horrific.
It's a different world.
It truly is. But yeah, no, I'm working on a bunch of records. I've got a record that I finished called Flying Over Hollywood, and that record is about I don't know what it's about, but sonically I was going for like, I don't know, that like big kind of like George Harrison, Jeff Lynne, Tom Petty, like just that like America, Sister Golden Hair, that 12-string shimmery, just in like a shimmery desert sound.
I'm thinking about Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
Really wanna need
yeah. And just those like soaring like golden slide guitars or pedal steel or whatever. I just love that stuff so much. I really like kind of doubled down on that sound on that record, Flying Over Hollywood. Like I bought a 12-string acoustic for it.
Oh, nice.
So like so fun, and just have these like big dry tom heavy drums.
So it's a full band
record. Yeah.
Do you tour or play shows with full band? Or
I play a lot of shows with full band. Barely tour.
It's hard.
Yeah, it's tricky.
It's super easy to tour alone.
Yes, super easy to tour alone. Very
always
difficult.
sleep in the car if you can't even find a place to sleep.
Exactly.
And finding a place to sleep's easy when you reach out and go, "Hey, it's just me."
It's just me.
When you say like, "Hey, it's me," and 4 people, they're like, "Oh, crap! I don't know if I have 5 spots." Yeah. So you've been touring for a bit.
Yeah, I guess like coming up on like I think it's 10 years since I've like been trying to take this seriously. I don't know if you feel this way, but like I always feel like, okay, I'm just hitting my stride now. I'm just kind of really figuring this out now. And
I felt that way right before the pandemic happened, and then it kind of destroyed my life.
What was there? What pandemic? What?
I forgot you were living upstate New York. You have no idea what happened. No. Yeah, the pandemic definitely took the wind out of the sails for what was happening, like the festival, the sessions. I mean, I was doing like 3-4 sessions every week.
Yeah.
I think in 2019 I did like 250 live videos. Wow. It's almost like one every other day, more than one every other day.
Yeah.
Pretty insane. And bands around the whole world were coming through. I was starting to get a relationship with people from Asia, the record label there, bands coming through from Seoul, South Korea.
Wow.
7 bands were going to play internationally at the festival. But then, pandemic, international bands can't play anymore. So in my backyard, by the 8th festival or 9th festival, I was going to have a band from South Korea, Tokyo, Germany, Mexico City, 3 places in Canada, and Vienna, or now Venice, Italy. And that would have been pretty crazy. In my childhood backyard, I have bands around the world in my backyard. Insane. Not just like around the country. Different people don't speak English that are coming to my backyard because of me.
So cool.
So that all went away. I mean, we still did the fest, but we lost the international stuff. And bands didn't have enough money because they lost their jobs. And so bands stopped having enough money to come in to record albums and stuff. So everything kind of just like started to fall down. And it's still recovering. It's not the same.
No, it's not.
That was 5 years ago.
No, this is just like a version of like your local business that got closed down and never came back. And
exactly.
Yeah,
sad.
but you didn't close down. You're just it's just harder.
It's just harder. Got to try harder. Got to wait longer between gigs or gaps. Got to lower prices here and there.
Yeah,
just little stuff all the time is just different. Yeah,
it's super tricky, and you just kind of hope and pray that all of this adversity and challenge just somehow like gets puts wind in our sails eventually. It's coming, man. It's and the gods will repay you in many ways.
I hope. I just want to live. I don't care to be rich. I just want to live.
Yeah.
I just want to pay bills, live, have a couple of days off to go on vacation, and like that's it. I don't want to be rich. I don't want to make money off other people's work. I just want to again, survive doing what I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too, man. Like it was funny last night. Played in Milwaukee, and we were about to like leave. The show's over, and I was like really hungry. I was going to go get some bratwurst at the Vanguard, and the very sweet musician who kind of helped put it together, she was like, "Hold on, we got to like sign for checks." And I was like, "Check? There's no way we made any money." Because 10 people came to the show, and I was like, in my mind, I was like, I'll be happy if 4 people show up, and it was more than that, so I was very happy. But I was like, there's no money. I hope all this money just goes to the venue, pay the sound person, and like that's that. Let's get out of here. And she's like, hang on. So like we wait around for 20 minutes, and she goes and like talks to this sound person. She comes back. She's like, good news, guys. We covered the production fee for tonight, so there's no checks. we could all leave. I'm like, yeah, I knew that.
Yeah. Yeah, I've gotten some funny checks.
You got like $11 checks?
Yeah, just stuff like that. Or like the band, I'll set up the show, reach out to the venue, and kind of like hand them everything on a silver platter. Like, hey, here's the 4 bands. We're going to use all the same equipment. We already communicated everything, making it really easy for the talent buyer. And then we'll play, and then, it'll be like, I helped someone, I had someone make the poster. Yeah. I booked all the stuff, made sure they used all that equipment, my stuff. Had to get it all to the venue.
Nice.
Do everything. And it's like, oh, here's, $80, but there's 4 people in the band, so it's like $20 a person. And I'm like, I didn't pay the person to make the poster. And I'm just like, I got to get gas. I'm like, okay. So we get some beer tonight? Like, I don't, I go, what's the point? Yeah, usually play for free beer at the venue. And
they gave
local
me a
food you have to go buy. It's on the street.
They gave me a kombucha. It was sweet.
There you go.
Yeah.
Kombucha.
Yeah, I think the thing that hopefully like we share in common is like, through it all, like I've just arrived at a place of like, hopefully for the most part, like a ton of gratitude. Like I genuinely had a fun gig. Like it was cool and it was fun getting to play for 10 strangers I've never met.
That's 10 more than nothing.
Exactly. Yeah, one of them probably liked it. So
yeah, and they can go home, they can get into it. They could share with their friends. Hey, I saw this person play last night. It happens all the time.
I love it. It's fine. We'll figure it out eventually.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily complaining, more venting. Because I'm so glad I get to do
There's
this.
a lot of venting.
I'm glad you're here. You're from Tennessee.
I'm so grateful to be here.
You're not from Chicago. It's a Monday afternoon.
This is cool.
We got to do some sessions,
which
went smoothly, and you sounded great.
Thanks, man.
And then we're having a podcast, and I've learned a lot.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
me too. And I appreciate what you do. And our mutual friend Matthew McNeil and Andre. Like,
how do you know them?
We played in Davenport together at the Raccoon Motel.
Raccoon Motel. Did you ever play at the in Dubuque at the
Jeremy.
Yeah.
What was it called?
It's called
Lion?
so it was the Raccoon Motel. Then it was the
Cat, the Lion.
No, it was
Fox.
called Fox Den Motel.
Fox Den Motel.
Fox Den Motel.
Yes,
So
played
you
there. Jeremy, who's no longer there now, he's in Colorado Springs.
Is he?
Yeah, but he's the freaking man.
Did you stay at his house when you played there?
Oh yeah, buddy.
I stayed there with four
that
other
guy
people.
doesn't sleep.
No, I stayed there with four other people. My friends from New York, Work Wife.
Yeah.
They came in to play a show, and they asked me to play guitar.
I know Work Wife.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. They played DZ Fest. We've done sessions. I got to do an audio tree with them, which was awesome.
Very cool.
And they went to Dubuque. They brought me with to play guitar. And we played Shubas too here, which was fun. But we stayed at Jeremy's house. He actually, it's funny enough, he came to me. He's like, "Are you Jewish?" And I'm like, "Not much."
Yeah, Jeremy's secret.
I'm like 10%.
You're 10%. You got 10% in you.
know, it's like, so I'm like 13% Polish and then 7% Ashkenazi Jew, but it's from the same region. So I'm like, am I 20%? Because it's like, I don't know what I am, but it's not enough. It was always just something I'd only discovered via 23andMe.
That's so funny.
So it's not a part of my life, culture, identity.
Yeah,
nothing.
Jeremy's half Jew. He didn't talk
Right,
about
and
it.
he made sure to tell me, and he also was like, "You have to be Jewish." I was like, "Why?" He's like, "Do you see how neurotic you are with the gaff tape, making sure no one trips on the cables on stage?" Because I was like organizing everything. It's like, "That's why you think I'm Jewish?" He's like, "You're not." I'm like, "I mean,
He sees the gaff
I
tape.
guess." Yeah, he just saw how like serious I was about like organizing stuff with gaff tape. He's like, "You got to be Jewish. You're so neurotic." And
Crazy.
I'm like, it just made me laugh that it's the same person, you know.
Jeremy's the man. I love that
Yeah.
guy.
That
Yeah,
is
and he's
so
come
funny.
down to
Small
Nashville.
world.
Matthew McNeil's come down to Nashville,
Yes.
and
I wonder if they're going
Matthew
this
Crew.
time
I
through.
hope they are. But yeah, he really moved me. They played such a beautiful set together, and their music really moved me that night. And he's just such a sweetheart and such
Nicest guys.
nicest guys. They're such team players, and
They'll help out the community. They help each other. They always spread the
something
word.
really cool that really stood out to me about them. We were all talking. We were like before the show in the green room and chatting. Somehow, like music career-y type stuff came up, like booking agent or manager or something. And the other artist was like, "Oh yeah, I have a management company," and and I was like, "I don't know," and Matthew, with such pride, was like, "We do it all in-house." And just the way he said it with like pride and confidence was like really stood out to me. It was like that, like just something in his eyes. I don't know. It was just cool. It was really cool. And then and I've listened to your podcast with them, and and that actually that told me way more than he even divulged about what they do and how they do it. But I really just appreciate
They're the real
those
deal.
guys. Real deal.
It's where we've always resonated. Is we both recognize that we both do everything ourselves, like no outside help.
Yeah.
And we've always just been that way, like DIY to the core, very transparent, very honest, more about like just living and doing the thing than it is like ripping people off or lying,
In it for the love.
spreading the rumor.
Yeah, you seem like a
of
guy
love,
that pays everybody else before you pay yourself, and which you got to be
Tends to
careful. So you got
happen.
you got to figure that out. You have
Tends to be a problem sometimes, but
Yeah.
I love them. I can't believe I've known them for 10 years. I've been friends a
that's
long
special,
time.
man.
Yeah, they're gonna be here this weekend too, which is so
That's
funny.
so cool. They're good people. And yeah.
Man,
Matthew, his song Strawberry Moon, I think it's called. It's a beautiful song.
yeah, they've been putting out bangers for years too. 10 years of music,
Yeah,
10 years of touring.
there's a big break coming. I feel it. It's gonna
I hope.
happen.
I
It's gonna
hope.
happen.
I can't wait.
It's inevitable.
And be like, hey, I know them. I could text them. They'll actually answer my phone calls. Unlike some people who blow up.
Zach Bright, dude. Never mind.
What?
I'm not gonna bring it up. Nothing. There's
What?
I don't want to vent because it's gonna end up talking smack on a venue that we love and good
Oh,
people,
okay.
but have been like acting really weird. But anyway,
Oh, anything else? Where can
Venting.
people find your music?
Shlomo Franklin, anywhere. But
Wait,
yeah,
hey, slow down that Shlomo and say it.
yeah. I know Franklin's really hard. Frankl.
No, the Shlomo.
Oh, is that?
Say that because you're like Shlomo. Like it sounds made
Shlomo.
up. Like your
Shlomo.
name's like what?
Shlomo. It's
Okay.
Solomon. That's what it is in the Bible.
It's actually Yiddish. Shlomo.
Yeah, it's like
Shalom. Shlomo.
Shlomo. It's like Hebrew for
Really?
Solomon. Yeah.
It's the more I say it, the more I hear
If
it.
you read the Bible in the real way, Hebrew, that's not true. I think it's
Can
actually
you?
written in Aramaic. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You're like, duh.
yeah.
Yeah, Aramaic and then Hebrew
Useless
and then Latin.
languages. Latin's way later.
I think it was Aramaic, Hebrew, Latin. I don't know. It's
the
one
Dead
of those.
the Dead Sea Scrolls are all those are like Hebrew. But anyway, yeah, Shlomo, SHLOMO, Shlomo.
Franklin,
That's it.
and that's Instagram. Anywhere else?
Yeah,
Facebook,
wherever, what
streaming
have you.
services, YouTube,
Yeah.
TikTok.
Oh yeah,
Twitter.
oh yeah, all of it.
Blue-
I don't
Blue
think I'm on
Sky.
Twitter. I don't know what that is.
I don't know either.
I'm definitely I like Instagram's like relatively wholesome. I try to keep a semi-wholesome relationship with it. I like YouTube a lot because you can have like real you know. Yeah, and Spotify, I got 2 records on there. I'm just gonna I'm putting out 5 records this year.
Are you serious?
I'm gonna try to
5?
3 probably.
So you'll have 5 in total, but put 3 out.
I mean, as many as like.
Do you
is
have them
reasonable.
done already or something?
I have like I don't know, man. I have a few records that are close to done. You know, you always got to do like a harmony and everyone's got to get mixed. But yeah, we're bunch of irons in the fire.
That's cool, though.
Having fun. Just
So
having
people
fun.
can keep an eye out for you.
Please. Yeah.
Everywhere. Shlomo Franklin.
Yeah.
All over the place.
Appreciate it and very
Find you out in
sweet,
Nashville,
and
then catch you on the road on touring.
that's it. I'll come to your town.
You-
Yeah.
Hit me up. I will
4
come to
people
your
or
town.
more, no money. I'm in.
That's the.
It's a great gig. I'll do it.
And so when they see you, when they hear your music, they expect a full band, and then if they see you live, they expect a solo.
Pretty much,
Most
yeah.
likely?
Yeah.
Outside of Nashville?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, for now.
Okay.
We'll get the band on the road.
And I need to come to Nashville again, and we need to do some
Love to have you.
sessions.
Yeah, please.
that'd
Yeah,
be
it's a
fun.
good town,
I loved it.
Good.
I've been there a lot of times driving through.
of course.
You know, I've been to Third Man Records and the Pork Leg, restaurant, that barbecue. Bar.
Nice.
I've been there a lot.
Pork
Pork belly, pork leg.
leg porker or something.
Yeah, something like
Piper.
that.
Yeah, yeah.
All right,
Dude,
Shlomo.
thanks
thank
for
you.
having me.
It's a pleasure to meet you.
Appreciate and love what you do. And
Thank
this
you
is
so
so
much.
fun.
I
Thank you.
appreciate the support. And everyone listening, please go support Shlomo Franklin. Find his music everywhere. Again, check him out on tour, YouTube, Instagram. Keep an eye out for new records coming out in 2025.
Oh yes.
And yeah, support your local musicians and musicians around the world, the ones that you don't hear about a lot, the ones that you don't hear on Billboard and the Grammys, because they need it way more than the Billboard and the Grammy musicians. Believe you me, we all know it.
Yeah, disagree with that. Give all your money to Taylor Swift. That's it.
All right.
Sorry, ruined stuff on your ending there.
Peace. All right, we'll slide in.